blinky cavil. This guy again. Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and today I'm here with Mads, Mama Bear, and hopefully some other guests will be joining to talk some Shang Chi. This is going to be a very, very quiet and serene stream as I'm streaming from somebody's apartment here, and they're all in bed. So it's going to be like a little bit of a serene, quiet stream, just like Mads likes it. um, very civilized. Um, but yeah, hi Mads, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. You already have a question in the chat.
Oh, really? What's the question? Oh, is it why the fuck are you talking in your ASMR voice? Oh, I'm just trying to not wake anybody up, essentially. Was that the question, or was there like another
That
question
was the
you're
question.
going back to? I can presume you walked out because you finally noticed what movie you were watching when you meant to watch Enter the Dragon Revival. Yeah, there's a lot to kind of unpack with this movie today. So I know you haven't seen it. Hopefully, I'm going to have Yellow on and see what he has to say.
Your takes do have a way of bringing people in.
Should I just start and then like just talk
Go
about it
for
and then
it.
say, um, I mean, so did you? First of all, do you have any questions about the movie? Because you don't care about spoilers. Because sometimes it helps me kind of structure my thoughts on the movie.
I know the base idea is this is supposed to be the Mandarin's son.
Yeah,
Um, that's pretty much all I know of the story. I know they've switched the rings to these weird ass bracelets, and I don't know if they put a reason behind that or not.
right. I'm gonna say this. You're right. Like it is the Mandarin son, and essentially, like to just kind of cut the story like to very very like a kind of brief synopsis. Shang Chi is living in America when we first meet him, and he is working as a kind of busboy essentially. And he's got a spunky MCU stock character friend with who comes with all the quips, and he's just a kind of Asian guy trying to get along in America essentially. Kind of very working class, very down to earth kind of characters. And to
Mm,
be honest, like in the beginning, like it's truly, I really rooted for these characters because of that. They seemed very low low key, down to earth kind of characters. Then he's attacked at a certain point in the film, and this is when you start to come to see that he's got like there's something special about him. He's clearly a great martial artist, which isn't revealed, to the woman who's his kind of partner in crime. And from there, you find out like some secret organization is after him, and that's when you realize like later on that secret organization is actually run by his father, and his father is a sympathetic villain who is after or trying to he's got a really right quite sympathetic motivation, should I say, for why he's doing what he's doing. He used to be part of a criminal organization. His family changed him, but then unfortunately his wife died, right? And then that sent him back to his bad ways, and he decided to make Shang Chi his ultimate fighter in his underground criminal Asian gang.
Mm.
And Shang-Chi realized at a certain point the wrong of his path and kind of tried to get away from his father by running away to America. That's it in a nutshell. And then it's got like some mystical kind of elements to it as well, with the mother and these 10 rings, right?
Mhm.
Now, what did I think of it in general? I think this is half a good movie, and then half a movie that is really stock, you
Mhm.
know, like MCU stuff, right? Like all of the tropes are there in nauseating fashion. And by the end of it, it got to such a ridiculous proportion. It was MCU on kind of overdrive to me. It got to such a ridiculous proportion by the end where they didn't even, you know, they'd abandoned all sense like of what, scale and what the story, what characters could do, and it just turned into like a mishmash of like CGI craziness, essentially. But the good part of this story was all the exploration of, to me, of Asian culture and the homages to Asian cinema and specifically martial arts movie. That was the martial arts movies. That was the great aspect of this film. I thought that was fantastic. Every time it was doing that, it was great. Every time it was becoming an MCU movie, it was losing me. Great. Here we go. Good.
Hi, hello.
So I was just talking about my general opinions on Shang-Chi. Hello, Yellow. Thanks for joining. I don't know if you were able to catch any of it, but
No.
my thing was about this movie. I'll just put it in a nutshell: is everything that was exploring
Why are you
the
whispering?
because I'm in a house where like people are sleeping essentially, so I need to be a little bit quieter. But everything that was exploring the Asian cultural stuff and paying homage to Asian cinema and to specifically the martial arts movies, all of that great. Every time it was turning more into an MCU movie, that was where it kind of lost me. And I think the if they had have just gone on and tried to make a straight up martial arts movie, got rid of any of the MCU formulaic aspects to it, this movie would have been one of the top MCU movies. As it stands, it's still pretty up there, just because the martial arts was out of control in the beginning. Really, really good. Not one of the best martial arts I've seen in a martial arts movie, period, but still pretty damn good. Then I think the third act
I
goes
think the
off
word
the
you were
line.
looking for was great. I think you were looking for great when you said like pretty damn good. It's like a weird like nerd manism. No, just great would work for and not the
All right,
best.
I want to hear what
Great.
you have to say. I
Yep.
want to hear what you have to say. So, what was your opinion of the movie? You really loved it?
No, please keep going. You had more things to say about. I don't know
No,
where
no,
you were
no,
going
no.
into next.
No, no, that was it. I'm going to kind of go into like different characters, what I thought of the different characters after, but just generally, what was your opinion of it?
Uh, so what? So I'm confused. So what is your general opinion on it then?
My general opinion on it is that the worst impulses of the movie are where it goes into MCU formula, and it does it
All
a
right.
lot.
So it's an MCU movie, and that makes it bad, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the humor doesn't work. I'm saying
The humor does work in this
the
movie.
I don't think it works. I
Most of
think
them.
it's
There is a moment where it doesn't work and it stops working, but it works for the most part.
okay. You're asking me what I didn't what I had a kind of problem with. I thought the humor doesn't work. I thought it's kind of the rings were actually kind of interesting at first, and then it lost all sense of proportion. They just didn't. They decided to abandon logic and what had been what we had been told characters can do and their abilities. And by the end of it, it just seemed like characters were finding secret things that hadn't been referred to in the throughout the movie, and et cetera, et cetera. And it just turned into a big CGI bombast funfair ride, essentially. That was kind of nonsensical, to be honest. I also think that it got boring in places. It was very long and drawn out, and there was aspects of like the actual personal story when it wasn't the Mandarin, when it wasn't the father, who was probably the best character in the movie, where there was interaction between brother and sister or brother and Aquafina. It just was like trying to make these characters personable or relatable by drawing out scenes that didn't need to be there or didn't exactly work. And again, the bad humor was a lot of the part of that. So that was a kind of a thing of just being like, it's losing me every time it's not doing martial arts scenes, or every time it's not got the Mandarin, furthering his story. This thing is losing me. So those were the big complaints. But I still think, like, maybe it's just behind Black Panther, which is pretty high up there on my MCU list. It's it's decent. It's a
Well, I
decent
don't know what
movie.
that means when you say it's just behind Black Panther. I don't know where Black Panther is in your
So Black
MCU
Panther would
list, but I have
be
seen you list
probably.
MCU movies before, so I would have to like disregard your entire list because you still are the person who put Captain Marvel next to Infinity War.
I knew we were going to do this. I knew we were going to do this.
You're still
Okay.
that. Did you change from being that person? I'll give you a
No,
chance
I
to
haven't
redeem
changed.
yourself.
I
There you
haven't
go.
changed
So
from
you're
being this.
still that
So
person.
this,
So I don't
so
know if
Shang,
your
so
list really.
Shang Chi is better to me than Infinity War and Endgame. Yes.
Right. So I
So
think I've gotten a taste for how you view movies. And like, if it's fun, you don't like it, right? If everybody else likes it, you don't like it. If it's like a kind of, did you watch Marvel? Did you watch What If this past week? Did you watch the
yeah,
Doctor Strange episode of What If?
yeah,
How'd you feel about that? You love that, right?
it
Because
was
it was
really
terrible,
good.
dreary, and dark and like evil and everything. Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So we figured it out now. Cool. You've said a bunch of stuff. No one really cares.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go on, go on, go
The
on. I want to hear what you have to say
Shang-Chi,
about the film.
while I agree with you in a lot of places, the formulaic aspects of Disney's version of Chinese cinema is
Yeah,
very prevalent towards the end of this movie.
right.
Absolutely, and I think it does take away from what the beginning of the movie set up. I think who's the director, Cretton. I'm not sure. I don't know. Dustin Daniel Cretton. Um, he made a really really good movie. He made an immaculate movie with incredible fight scenes in it. Really personable and likable characters. I completely disagree with you on that they weren't like they absolutely were. A lot of the humor in the movie up until like the midway point where we introduce a character from older films and his fucking furry sidekick. I didn't like any of that shit. I was like, get this bullshit out of my face.
Thank
Make
you. You
reference to it.
just
I
reminded
understand.
me
Make
of it.
reference to it,
You
but so
you just
trash,
reminded
so
me of
incredibly
that.
trash. Like give reference to it. I understand why we gave reference to it, but then he needed to go away. That's what needed to happen, right? So that's the Disneyfication
The
of
fact
stuff. It's gonna
the
happen.
fact
It does
he
bring down the
continued
film.
in the film was a problem. Nothing he
Yeah,
did worked. He was
yeah,
worse than in Iron Man 3. I mean, I really was, and he
yeah,
became
yeah.
a big part of the movie, and it was just like, what is this? And the
He
little
didn't become
furry
a big part. No,
character.
let's not. No, we're not going to
Oh,
hyperbolize the
come
actual role
on.
that he played. He didn't become a big part of the movie. Stop it.
He
But he
was a big
was of
part of the
sorts
mid
a
part of the movie.
tangential supporting character. He was a tangential
He
supporting character,
was
more of a plot device, really. And I
a
didn't like it.
plot
So
device, dude. I mean, well, at least we agree on that. But I'll say, like, he took up quite a bit of the latter end of the second act of the movie, right?
he became all right. So folks understand what we're talking about. Spoiler alerts, folks. If you haven't seen
Yeah,
Shang Chi, the Mandarin shows up. Ben Kingsley's the Mandarin shows up
Yeah.
And you know, because we have to deal with that, right? That's kind of the loose thread that's connected to the MCU that has to be dealt with. And I thought uh, I thought they dealt with it great the first time they dealt with it, where
Mm.
you know where Pop Dukes talks about it. But anyway, we'll get to that later, right? He shows up and at about the midpoint, maybe a little after midpoint in the movie, and kind of becomes the comedy throughout the rest of the movie. Takes it away from Aquafina even. It's like a weird thing. I don't think it needed to be there. I disagree. And then they have their little like their version of like a Digimon or a Pokemon. I'm not sure, whatever it was. They're trying to sell that. That's a plushy gold mine right there. I guarantee it. Right? It's ugly as shit, but for some reason, kids are gonna like it. I hated it. I did not like it at all. But none of that stuff. Even the Disneyfication of it and the like the kind of the
Mm.
formulaic, the paint by numbers ending of it, like third act, climax, and resolution. Uh, Even though it was formulaic and it was very paint by numbers, I feel like it
Yeah.
still brought this sense of wonder and epicness that they were going
Mm.
for. It did a good
It
job at
stuck
it,
the
and
landing, you're saying.
it's paints that we've never seen Disney paint with before. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a different kind of thing.
Mm.
And I thought that it worked well enough, but it was not in any way as good as the movie that Dustin Daniel Cretton had set up in the beginning. His
Why do you
movie
say
was
that? Why do you
incredible.
say that?
His movie was
What?
incredible when they introduced when it was when it was a Wuxia, I don't know how to say it. When it was the like the Chinese film, like those old school kung fu films that we all grew up on. I don't know if you did or not, right? If when it was one of those, when we started the movie up and it introduced the characters of Wenwu, and I forgot what Mom Duke's name was, Shang Chi's mother and father, and we kind of introduced the rings of the 10 rings, and we set up their relationship and how they met and all of that stuff, and like all that shit was amazing. And then we got into Shang Chi, and we met him. He was great. Like him and Aquafina playing off of each other. That was all also amazing. Like all of that stuff was really, really good. Right. Then we get to the bus. We get to the action sequence. Now, I love this fucking action sequence.
The bus
It
scene was
was
good. The martial arts was
amazing,
great in the beginning.
but it did feel like it was a little bit too big. I was like, where the hell are you gonna go from here? This is nuts. Like it was a two
I
buses,
think they
right? Like
managed
it was
to. Yeah.
twice as long bus that got cut in half at some point, crashed into a garbage, like driving
Mm.
through San Francisco. There was a lot of things happening in that scene, and the kung fu was incredible, and I loved it. It felt like a middle of the movie scene, and it was the first fight scene that we saw Shang-Chi get into. So I was like, Jesus Christ. And then the middle of the movie fight scene obviously was also better. So like all of the kung fu in this shit was incredible. All of the character dynamic stuff, the emotional through line of the film, while it
The
wasn't
third
as
act kung
developed.
fu was weird though.
I don't know if the
It
kung
fell
fu. I
off
don't
in
know
the
if there was
third.
kung fu. I don't know if there was kung fu really in the third. It was a little bit. Like it was very. I would
Yeah,
agree
well,
that
whatever the fight
the
scenes
highlight
were in the third
was
act
not the
was.
kung fu anymore at the end. Yeah, I would agree with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay, current
But
now.
it definitely went from like Rumble in the Bronx to like Journey to the West, and that's a weird thing to do. Like it was
Mm.
like I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 2013 Journey to the West movie by Stephen Chow and I forgot the other guy's name, Derek Kwok.
Well, it seemed to be
Um,
taking some elements out of like the monster movies and from Asia, obviously Godzilla and stuff like that, the kaiju
Yeah,
movies and
yeah, it
shit.
definitely
Like
felt like
it's
a
like a
kaiju
bit of
fight, but they're all except I think
well,
I'm
it
not
was.
entirely sure about the Great Protector, but that Dweller of Darkness or whatever at the end of the movie, that's a Marvel character too. So it's all everything is inspired by everything, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, like again, this is one of the things about it. Like the fight scenes that were, you know, actually choreographed, wire work, all of that kind of stuff. Those looked incredible. As soon as it
It was
started going into
beautiful.
the
It
CGI,
was beautiful.
I wouldn't say that CGI was top notch, but like it
Yeah.
still was messy somehow. Like it was just like the
It
story
was
became
it was
messy at that
noticeable.
point.
It was noticeable. It wasn't we're not gonna
Yeah,
just say it's messy. It wasn't messy, but it was noticeable.
yeah.
Uh
Hey man,
and
Tim,
and it took
you're
me
here.
the
How's it going?
CGI took me out of it too.
Peace, man. Hey, so what was your take on the
A
Shang
little
Chi?
bit.
Overall, like I kind of agree. What was it? Does I've been on stream with you before? Yellow. You want me to
Yep.
call you Yellow? Okay.
Yep.
All right. But no, I kind
Yeah,
of agree with what he was saying. It started off really strong for me, and a very like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon when the Wenwu met his mom or whatever, or his wife or whatever. I love that dynamic in there and how that was shot, and then also the hand-to-hand combat in that bus scene. It was like kind of all calm, and then bam, he busts that like out of nowhere, and that was great. And that guy with that fat dude that was filming was pretty funny. Uh,
I actually liked him. He
yeah,
he
There
was
was
one
a
of the
lot
funniest
of
points. He was surprisingly funny, that guy actually. But I think
yeah,
he overstayed his welcome. Again, it
yeah,
was like it was funny in the beginning, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm not going to drive," like because every
yeah,
time,
yeah. I didn't need that
they
joke.
just
yeah,
I
went
didn't need that joke.
yeah.
Yeah.
too far.
Because overall the tone kind of changed for like at first it was just like a YouTube fight, but then it
Mm.
became like this big citywide thing that would be like all over the news. It became like very Spider-Man. What was it? Spider-Man 2, where he's trying to stop the train. They're having that big fight, or the bus or something like that. And then also it became very Speed with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock,
Mm.
kind of element of that. Yeah, like I do think they kind of went a little bit maybe too far with that scene, but I
It
did
was
like
just
it.
big to be the
Mm.
first, like, to be Shang Chi's introduction to kung. Like for us to for the movie to introduce us to Shang Chi's kung fu, it was fucking huge. Like it was a
Yeah,
whole. There was a dude
Oh
with a
yeah,
sword on his arm. There were 5 other goons there. There was the bus got chopped in half. Like they ran through the city. People
but
were
that was the
falling
stuff
out
I
of the
liked.
bus. He had to climb on top of the bus and then back. And this was our introduction
Mm.
to him being able to fight. And Aquafina, his friend Katie's introduction to him being able to
To
fight
her,
was
yeah,
like
and also her
it
driving
was
skills
huge.
used immediately. It wasn't like there was a build up because they just showed her like how she was at her job or whatever as a bus boy or lady or whatever, that
yeah,
she has some driving skills there, and like they had to set that up, and then immediately they go into like that bus scene where she has to do big driving stunt scene, right?
Yeah, yeah.
um so yeah, but I liked
But
it.
it
That
was
was the kind
dope
of
though. But it was
bombastic
dope though.
martial
yeah,
arts stuff that you did get out of Asian cinema, and that's why I thought that was like quite dope, mixed with that
It
yeah,
was
MCU
great.
budget. Fuck you budget, right? Like
yeah.
the MCU has or Disney has. Um,
Seemed like Tokyo Drift too with the driving. Like they set the stage as soon as they got that car or whatever, and she was like kind of like drifting. And later on, they're kind of doing that, and that's just kind of the Fast and Furious vibes. Like this film was a combination of a lot of things, like kind of like Raid S. If you guys seen the Raid, the more hand to hand combat with that. Also, kind of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Speed. Spider Man, and then also elements of Black Panther. It seemed
Spider Man.
as far as like the bus scene or whatever, it felt kind of Spider-Man because Spider-Man had to like risk himself, I guess. Maybe not exactly more like Speed, but like Spider-Man did have like a big bus scene. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
That was a subway, actually.
The
Yeah,
subway.
Subway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, public
it was
transit. It's
a
all the
subway.
same shit,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, it's all the same
I don't know.
stuff.
It doesn't. It seems like anytime you're in a tubular
It's,
vehicle, they're gonna relate it. Because like to even say it was like a speed thing, it's like it's just because it was on a bus. Like every other movie that
yeah.
was on a bus, no one's like, oh, it's speed. It's just
Yeah.
No,
Well, it's because I
it was
couldn't
its own
stop it or
thing.
whatever.
It was its own
yeah,
thing.
for
I
sure.
wouldn't say
Because
that.
like Speed, you could yeah.
I want to talk about why I actually walked out of this film by the end.
Oh, you walked out.
I did. I didn't see the end. Like
We'll talk about
I
that
haven't
later.
seen.
That's
Okay,
ridiculous. You didn't even finish it. Oh, you
no,
uninformed.
I
Uninformed.
didn't. But we'll talk about it later. The problem I was having with this movie, and this was the thing, I was like, everyone, was, and this speaks to the nerd man of it all. I was like in this cinema watching this, like, big MCU spectacular, and they're making all of these jokes, and Aquafina was doing like, like having like her big laugh moments or whatever. And I just was like, this is the MCU stuff, the generic MCU stuff that is getting in the way of like, this director who's obviously got an eye for good fight choreography and stuff like that, actually making a fucking good
Well,
movie.
the guy, and they did a in memoriam in the credits for him. But Brad Allen, he was a guy, stunt choreographer and fight choreographer that worked a lot with Jackie Chan in the early, like, you know what I mean, throughout the '90s and early
Right.
2000s and all that type of shit. So, he's the guy who really, I think, obviously Dustin Daniel Cretton gets credit, right? Because he's the director. He shot all of the shit, right? But he's the guy I think that we really want to attribute. And he passed shortly after the movie came out. So shout out to Brad Allen.
Yeah, rest in peace.
But I was just, yeah, rest in peace, dude. But like, I was just like getting so irritated by the nauseating laughter in the cinema towards some of these
That's the
irritating
most
jokes. Like,
ridiculous thing that I think I've ever heard in my life. You are such
I,
a hater. What are you saying
I
about
know,
people were having fun in the movie that I went to?
yeah,
I had to leave.
yeah.
Like, what the fuck do you want, bro? What the fuck do you?
But it
Don't
was
go
at the
see these
point.
movies no more. Stop
It was.
going.
It was.
Leave them
It
alone.
was.
They're not for you.
It,
They're not.
it
Just
was.
wait for Zack Snyder to get his chance to make another terrible, angry, dark, depressing movie. Like, just wait for that. Just
It
Jesus
was at the point.
Christ.
No. It was at the point, right, where Aquafina, like, she did that song to get away from. They did the callback. Like, so she does the song to get away from the ninja
Yeah.
again, right?
Yeah.
Like, she sings the song to get away from the ninja. And I just had this guy at the back of me, I swear, like, if he hadn't had a mask on, I would have felt the spit on the back of my neck from this
Well, at
guy's
least he
just
was wearing his
laughter at
mask right.
every single, right, he was wearing his mask, every single joke. And all of these jokes were landing for these people. And I just couldn't take it. And I knew I wanted to tell this story because I knew it would be like a funny thing for you guys. I just couldn't take the MCU, like, actually, like, people laughing at MCU jokes. But then Trevor came on, and every one of his jokes as well. They just the laughter was
No.
like just. So by the end of it, I was just like,
He was
I
funny a
can't
couple
have this.
times, but it was too much.
It
I didn't
really
like. I
wasn't.
didn't even want it.
It wasn't funny. And
He was
then
funny a
of
couple times.
course,
He was funny.
I'm
You're just a hater.
I'm
You just
sorry.
can't.
The
You don't
third
like humor.
act turned a little bit into Aquaman. It was like they decided to go from the movie that I'd
First of all,
been.
stop. You're not just gonna shove your DC bullshit into this, all right? Like, Aquaman, at the end of Aquaman, turned into every other fantasy epic movie from every other fucking genre of the world. Like,
I love
we're
the
not
way
just
he
gonna
lets
pretend
me
that
finish.
Aquaman did it.
This is just
Nah.
beautiful.
Choose
I
a
love the way he
different
did
movie
that.
to reference. Every other
You
sprawling
can't
epic. They
tell
should have
me
Lord
what
of the
movie
fucking
to
Rings.
choose,
Any
bro.
other movie where
You're
two
lucky I
fucking
can't
sides
shout right
clash at
now.
each other.
You're
Like,
lucky I can't get angry and shout. You can't tell me what movie to choose to like elaborate on my ridiculous position. Look, it turned
I just
into
did. So
Aquaman. It turned into Aquaman in sense of it becoming a CGI mess which story just had lost any coherence and just things were just happening that need to happen. It turned into a mixture
I
of
disagree. I disagree with that.
Endgame and Aquaman to me. Like the movie, at the very least, throughout the whole movie, it was making complete sense to me. By the end of it, I was just like, wait a second. Now Shang Chi can control the rings. Where's this dragon coming from? Like he's dead and like
It
he's
was
in
set up.
this
It was set up
war.
in the beginning of the movie. It was the first
Yeah.
conversation that we showed mommy having with Shang Chi. It was
That there's a
just you
dragon
weren't.
in the
It's fine.
middle
You
of a
weren't
But
paying
movie.
attention. She literally hands him an origami dragon and tells him about how she had powers in a village that was gifted to her from the dragon that like was the great protector and shit like that. Like they talk. It was all set up in the beginning
Well,
of
there you
this.
go.
Just
So I walked out the cinema for no reason. There you go.
it's just
No,
like
but
it's like I don't know. It's like you just didn't want to understand the film. You just went in like,
I
oh,
did.
here's this Marvel bullshit again. This guy behind me's having a great time enjoying this bullshit. Like they set it up. Now, was it weird? Was it big? Was it a huge thing? Like my issue with the film is halfway through it
No.
turns into what seems like it turns into a different movie. It takes like Rumble in the Bronx and it evolves into fucking Journey to the West, which is a like just huge, epic, completely fantastical fantasy. Like there's a kaiju fight at the end of the movie. It's a weird
Well, that's what
thing
I'm
to
saying. It was a
transition to. However,
because
it was set
if
up, so it did make sense.
it was set up maybe in the beginning, maybe I didn't like quite like gather that or whatever, but like
Yeah.
I mean, it just didn't come up in the rest of the movie at all, and for him to just find a fucking dragon just when he needs it to fight like this,
They were in
you
a
know,
they were in
what,
another
mystical
dimension.
village or whatever, but
They
still,
literally
like
just
why
told
does
you
the
how they were given
dragon?
the gift of using dragon scales to make
Did she?
weapons to fight the darkness. Like they literally just
Yeah,
right
but they were
before he gets
given
beat into the
dragon
ocean, into the
scales,
sea.
but they weren't.
Huh? Where the
They weren't
fuck do you
saying that
think
they
the
had
scales
access
came
to
from?
fucking dragons. Like,
What-
come on, it's just ridiculous. You know,
They
I mean, it's
tell
a
you the
ridiculous.
myth. They tell you the myth before the fight of the whole story, where like the
Yeah.
thing was evil and they had to lock it away and they had the
And
help
you're
of
right.
the dragon to do that. They tell you that.
yeah.
But don't you feel the rings lost any sense of proportion by the end? Like at least the rings were like they did certain things and then they just started like losing any sense. It's like they were fun as an idea, and I could see like what the writer or whatever was thinking. Like, oh, you know, having 10 rings is going to be like Thanos all over again, you know, with the gemstones.
Hmm.
But I feel like maybe the rings, you know, just power rings would have worked, you know, more coherently by the end. Whereas these like things on the wrist, it's like once you've done a few like action scenes with them, by the end of it, you have to get them to do so many ridiculous things, right? Like of what they can do, and it just, I felt like they just were like giving the rings like whatever it needs to be, it needs to happen in a single moment, like for the story to kind of continue, or for him to get out
Nah,
of a
nah,
particular
nah.
predicament.
That's some imaginary shit that you made up. The rings were
Okay.
entirely like
I want
consistent
Tim
throughout
to
the
talk
film.
after this, though. Go on. No,
Hmm?
go on. Continue. I just want, because I know that we've
The
been
problem is I
going back
said
and
what I
forth.
needed to say already. You were talking when I said it though, so shit happens. Tim?
Yeah. I got a question about the rings. I thought they were consistent throughout, but at the start they say that he they gives him like godlike powers, and that's why he doesn't age. There's even like a line he says to
1,000
one
years
of the
old.
yeah, but it's just he's like, "You're a lot younger than I am," or whatever. And I thought that
He
was
called him
great.
young man. That line was incredible. He said,
Yeah,
"Yo, watch how
That
you
was
talk
quite
to me,
good.
young man."
yeah,
Yo, son. Tony Leung did not come for play, fam. He showed up here and served.
Oh,
He was handing
I
out
wanna,
business. He was handing out business in the
yeah,
emotional scenes. He was handing out
yeah.
business in the expository scenes. He was handing
yeah,
out, fam. When he explained racism, he just was like, look at how dumb white folks is. They were afraid of oranges. This guy
yeah,
was killing it, bro, just murdering the whole time, and really
yeah,
was one of the best villains that we've had so far, which is easy to say because the MCU villains are
yeah, well,
historically
trash.
super trash,
Yeah,
super duper trash.
yeah.
And the good
Yeah.
ones they
But
kill, which they did again in this movie.
no, well, let's not go too far. They were all right, the good ones. But yes,
But they kill them though.
oh,
They die.
oh, they killed them. Oh, I see. All
Right,
right, I
kill them.
got you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. But I was going to say I wanted to go through the characters, and I think he's one of the better characters to go through first.
Easily.
Yeah. Tim, what were you saying? Like you were like,
I Okay, so like they kind of established they give him kind of like godlike powers. I think the biggest, like with any superhero film, it doesn't matter if it's DC or MCU. Like my big concern on Black Widow is like their recovery time, because he's not a god, like he's a human. He's supposed to be just a master martial artist, best at like his skills. So
Hmm.
like, what Shang Chi, right? He's
Mhm.
not. He doesn't have any abilities. He's just like the peak of physicality and just like based off Bruce Lee. So like, I'm wondering how they like recover. Yeah, they went through some hardcore training, but like even Black Widow, they're getting thrown up against walls. They're like going like crazy, fights, and then they're recovering like so quickly, or maybe the passage of time's maybe not like illustrated good enough. And then even the rings, like when you're fighting someone with the rings, like when he's fighting his dad, he doesn't have any of the rings. And then but I mean, I realize that fight takes place in that different dimension. Maybe the physics or people's abilities
different.
are more, are enhanced.
Yeah.
But he took like a really big blow from his dad,
It seems
about
like if
killed
you
him.
leave there, you lose some powers or something. It seems because like the mother didn't have, which I don't know was fully explained
Yeah.
when she was like on Earth, right? Like when she's killed by.
Yeah.
So
It
that
didn't
power that
seem like
they have,
they completely explained that.
Yeah.
yeah. Because she
But
was beat badass, like she could beat like a guy who could take out a whole
she's a fucking airbender,
army
bro. That shit was crazy.
essentially.
Yeah.
So I don't get why these guys were such a problem for her that she got killed. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
was
Well,
another
Well,
thing. Like
she didn't have her powers. She did say that she didn't have her powers anymore.
she had to
did
give
say
them
that.
up or whatever.
she
And she
could
said she
fight
left
still
him.
though, dude.
Yeah, but there were like 40 dudes. How much fighting do you want?
Yeah.
How much fighting do you want one woman to do?
Well, but
Like there were 40
she
dudes.
seemed to go down really quickly, dude. Like it wasn't just like like they didn't even show the fight scene.
Nah.
I thought it was a little
Yes,
bit.
they didn't. Yes, they didn't. What
They
they did
didn't
show
even show it. They
was
just were
young
like
Shang-Chi
space
reacting to his
reacting to
mother's
it.
gruesome death in front of him from
Well,
40
they didn't
dudes
show
that
the
his
gruesome
father
death,
then blamed him for not running out there and dying
which
too.
was a
So
great
I
part.
mean, come on.
That was a great part. Like
The
when his
setup
father
too was a
went.
great scene. Her death scene was incredible, showing the young boy hyperventilating and crying. And shit. That shit was incredible.
Yeah,
Knowing
but
that there's nothing
I
that he
still
could
think
do.
they should have shown like her like do a little bit of like it was clear that she was for her to be able to take on the Mandarin the way she did, even without her powers, she clearly is a
Right.
fucking badass. So they should have shown something of it. Like, but again, I don't understand
I
exactly
don't
why
know. We saw it with
leaving
her
the
during the Mandarin.
village, makes her lose her powers. Does that mean Shang-Chi loses his powers when he leaves this village as well? I
What
mean,
powers are we talking about?
the powers on his mother's side, not the powers from the rings, the powers that clearly allowed him to control like the rings at
That's a
the
good
end.
question. That's a good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Matt, one thing, because I know you haven't watched the film, but I just wanted to know if you have any other
Why are you
questions
here?
before I
That's
go.
a terrible idea. We are going to spoil.
I wanted to know if
Sorry.
you had any other questions
I
before I
mentioned,
move on to
mentioned
like
that in the
each
private chat.
character.
What?
No, I mentioned that in the private chat that I have not watched it yet. Really, spoilers
No,
don't
it was
bother
before
me.
I got here.
I went into Endgame knowing how that was going to happen. They, same with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well,
You live online, spoilers are a way of life. So
Cool. Well, tell me, what are you thinking before you see the movie? Are you interested in seeing it? What's your thoughts going in? Like, how do you feel? You know what I mean? Like, talk about it.
initially, I wasn't really all that jazzed about the idea of the movie, just off of the trailers itself.
And now I've convinced you because
It,
of
it
my
actually,
hot take
I
on
admit,
it.
I admit, I've been trying to find this Digimon character that you guys have been talking about, because that sounds like the
It'll be
kind
a
of thing
while.
I would absolutely adore.
It's
I
so
do want to,
fucking
I do
corny, and
want
it
to
doesn't
see
have
the
a face.
Mandarin in action,
Do you know it
because
made me that little
anything is better
creature? I was
than
like,
Trevor.
He's
not in a not
incredible, man. Now,
Mm.
not to interrupt a woman when she's
who.
speaking there, man. He's incredible.
Oh, the Mandarin. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
good. He's
Yeah,
good.
that's reviews I'm seeing. That he is the highlight of the film.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I was going to say about that little creature, it was like making me like physically itch. I was like, it's so weird. It doesn't have a face. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know what it's thinking. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like,
I mean, I didn't
I
have this
really felt
weird parasympathetic like reaction to it. Like that seems like a bit
it
much, but
bothered
I
me,
just didn't
man.
think it needed to be there. I hate it. I just didn't
I,
like
I would
the
freak
whole
out and
thing
jump
of it.
out a window if I ever saw that shit come into life. Anyway, it was, it was
Yeah, again,
freaking me out. Why
no
did it
face.
have wings?
I'm
Tell me
I'm
why
a,
it
I
had
grew up
wings,
on
Yellow.
I grew up
Why
on
did it
Star
have
Trek.
wings?
We fell in love with tribbles. No faces
Whatever
doesn't
that
phase
is.
me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
tribbles freaked me out as well.
I
There
don't
was
know
something
nothing
wrong
about
with them.
Star Trek.
They
my
had
mom had one.
they had a plan, and nobody knew what it was. The tribbles were weird. Like there was something wrong with them.
There were
Uh,
purring hairballs that bred faster than rabbits.
exactly. That's another problem with them. Um, that's one thing I did like. I really like this little village. That, by the way, that's what you reminded me of, Matt. I love the little village and all the creatures that came out of the village, and I really like that.
Absolutely
I
incredible.
thought it was quite a
Absolutely incredible.
creative action scene that kept frequently being ruined by Ben Kingsley's character. But
Yeah,
the
all the
little
comedy
action
from
set
him was
piece,
just it was
yeah,
unneeded. It was stupid. I didn't like it. We could have just I don't know how they would have done it. I could give me some time. I could think of a better way to have done it. It would have been easy. It could have easily been the sister with all her obsession with taking over her dad's empire. She could have uncovered some piece of information that he maybe missed. That she
mhm,
then now, understanding that the dragon that the two pendants go into the eyes of reveals a
mm,
map. Having seen it now, maybe she could have put something together and then the
mm,
little fucking furry guy can still come out and still be a thing, and then the
mm,
sister can play a bigger role because that's another missed
mm,
opportunity. Instead of having Ben Kingsley
mm,
be the fucking like navigator, I just didn't. It was as much as I
yeah.
love Ben Kingsley and as much as
Ben
I
Kingsley's
really
amazing,
enjoyed
isn't
Trevor
he?
Slattery
He's
in Iron
amazing.
Man's 3. I did not like him in this film. I didn't want to. I didn't want him to be there for this long. One quick little pop
Mm.
up, and then maybe he gets out of there. Whatever, that's fine. It was too
Yeah, he
much.
should have been a reference. He definitely should have been a reference because I wanted to go to segue into favorite parts of the movie, and I was going to say like I love the
Well, we were
thing
doing
with them.
characters, right?
We might as well just because we can breeze over this kind of like quickly, but like favorite parts of the movie. So, and then worst part of the movie. But like the scene where they were driving into the land of the mystical land of Shang Chi, or his mother, and they're
Yeah,
driving through
Ta Lo.
the maze of trees. Man, I thought that was a really creative action scene, and I love just that scene after where you first explore like the weird creatures and animals of this land. So apart from the obvious, which is the martial arts scenes, that was
Ta
like
Lo. The land is called
two.
Ta Lo.
Talo, yeah, exactly, Talo. Those were my favorite. That was my favorite scene from the film. What about you?
It's a lot of good stuff, man. But I don't know if I can pick a favorite scene yet. It's a lot of good stuff. As much as I loved like riding through Ta Lo and seeing all of the Asian mythical creatures that I only know by their like Japanese names. Like they had a nine-tailed fox
Mm,
in there, Kitsune.
Oh
I know
yeah.
I'm familiar with that. They had a fucking a kidding in there, which is like the dragon deer. Like I don't know what their Chinese versions of those characters are and all that stuff, but I fucking loved all of that shit. I thought that shit was beautiful, great. They had phoenixes. I'd love to go back there and see it again, which it looks like we certainly will have an opportunity to.
wow, so
But
he's saying, yeah, it's getting bad. Yeah.
but to pick a
Uh,
second, but to pick a favorite scene, I don't know if I can do it yet. I really, really love the scenes. I love a lot of the scenes in there, man. I really like the introduction. Like I said before, Shang-Chi was a perfectly Simu Liu played an incredibly likable guy in a movie with a lot of likable characters. Like even the villain,
mm,
his father, he was so smooth and cool
mm,
and just so likable, and I really related to the emotions that he was displaying. Like he was
mm,
so good. Simu Liu was also incredibly easy to just have there and believable. Like he really, when he switched up, he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then they threw Aquafina down into the bus seat, and he was like, oh no no no, Bangada! Hit him with the big punch, the kung fu like send him
yeah.
across the bus punch, and then goes into whooping ass, and then comes out of it fixing his jacket, doing all the little jacket chanisms. Bro, I was all the way sold. I was like, this guy is Shang-Chi. He did it. He's
Hmm.
fucking gorgeous. Like he got his shirt off when that fucking fight pit, whatever that bullshit was that they had him
He's
doing with his sister.
gorgeous. Wow,
Bruh.
interesting.
Bruh, he is an action star. I don't know if he, can
I
do
don't
it in
know.
everything
I
else,
don't
but
know
when he
all
did it
about
here in
that.
Shang-Chi, it was
I don't know all about
incredible.
that.
I loved every second of it.
Interesting, interesting.
I love the scene where his sister comes out and they try to have a conversation and she just beats the shit out of him. And I think even though, Marvel doesn't
That
like
was
to
dope.
delve deep into the emotional stuff, but they hinted to all of her motive. You understood why she was beating his
Yeah.
ass. You understand. They gave you the little flashbacks and then she
Wait.
showed it on her face and it kicked him unconscious. Like you understood all of the action sequences in this film. That's why I disagree with you when you say at the end it kind of turned into a mess. I didn't understand what was going on. I think the story of why the action is happening was handled really well in this film.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
Every
mean,
single time, even at the
yeah,
end
yeah.
when it would turn into like a Dragon Ball Z style light fight, I was like, don't like when you did it. Didn't like when it happened in Wonder Woman. Here, this is how you properly interject some DC bullshit, right? Didn't like it when they did it in Wonder Woman. Don't like it when they're doing it here. But the story of the fights, right? I think that was very clear throughout. So I really, it's strong, man. It's a strong, strong fucking movie. To pick a single scene, I don't know. I'd have to watch it again to pick a single scene. There's a lot of good stuff, but I think right now my number one contender is when after Mom Dukes dies and Mandarin, Wenwu takes baby Shang-Chi on his first mission and goes and whoops everybody's ass in the gambling ring with the ring with the 10 rings. And just the way how they shot that, like how the camera follows him in and whatever, and it looks at Shang-Chi. It looks like it's a lot of one shot. It looks at Shang-Chi, turns back to the father. You can see like the reflection of everybody that's in the room, turn back to the pops, and they're like, hey, what the bang, breaks the table, starts throwing people around. The camera turns back to Shang-Chi, and you can see his pops whooping ass in the
Oh,
reflection,
that
and then he
bit. Yeah,
throws the
yeah, yeah,
body
yeah,
back
yeah.
over, and you see little baby Shang-Chi like step to the side, like out the way, like, oh shit. Bruh, that's probably right now number one contender for the
The
best scene in the
father,
movie.
yeah, 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 yeah. The father going in and whooping us was actually kind of,
Yo,
Yeah.
it was kind of cool. It's
broke
kind
him
of dope.
down, and the way it was shot too, it was so good, so incredibly
I,
well
I,
done.
I'll say this: I like the music better than a lot of MCU movies as well. In this, some of
Yeah,
the
the
music
score
was
was pretty
quite
good.
nice. Um, I just remembered one other thing, but Tim, man, what's your favorite part of this?
That's
Tim,
actually probably my number one, especially when he like freaking takes the rings and just goes boom, instead of it felt like a gunshot, but it was so gangster,
He
like that
did. He
whole
just
scene,
shot
man.
off. He shot off a little burst of energy, but yeah, it was
Just
great. He was
just a,
blocking shotgun rounds. He was blocking shotgun
he was
rounds
doing some
with
Wonder
the
Woman
10
shit, wasn't he?
rings with his fucking
yeah, it was
arms. He was
gonna
just like pating, pating, and then like launch it, bro. It was it's fucking bonkers, man.
He
It was
was on
incredible.
some
It
Wonder
was
Woman
incredible.
shit and that. Yeah.
yeah
Yeah, for
it
real though, for real.
they took like an artistic choice there because it almost felt like it was like a point of view of Shang Chi or whatever. He
Yeah,
was kind of watching, and then
he
they would go
was.
back to his face, back and forth. So it
Yeah,
almost felt like a kind of like a viral video in a way, but it was just like you could see it from his perspective. And then and I did like the Dragon Ball Z reference because he does like do a Kame and blast the that big old vampire dragon
yeah,
away or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But
Soul sucker,
yeah, a soul sucker.
mega soul sucker.
Yeah, so yeah, that was the name Aquafina gave the
Uh,
Soul Sucker.
I think they called him.
Oh,
I
you
think
know
they
the
called him
best
the
joke,
Dark
the best,
Devourer. I think is what they call him.
the best joke. Like, sorry, go on. Carry on. What you were saying? You were calling. Continue, please. I'll tell you the joke after. It's just something you mentioned about Aquafina just like triggered me there.
Oh, I think it was just establishing the name. The name is Dark Devourer, or maybe Yellow's looking it up.
Well, no, he was talking about the thing. He was saying you continue talking about your favorite scene in him.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
So either that or was actually I thought it was kind of a good, maybe not necessarily like the best scene, but I thought it was a good twist because I don't think this movie was ever like super predictable. I really did believe that his
Yeah, it
sister
was.
betrayed him or whatever, like
Oh yeah,
which
yeah,
leaves
yeah,
him
yeah,
dead.
yeah.
Yeah, and then she comes swoops up. I thought they were gonna kill Aquafina. I was like, holy crap! And then she comes out of nowhere. She's like, no, I'm just showing you how it feels to be betrayed.
Oh, the
Yeah.
scaffolding fight scene, another like classic old school kung fu, bamboo scaffolding up the fucking skyrise, and they're fighting and people are falling off of it to their death. How many people did Shang-Chi murder in this goddamn movies? And he was straight up
Dude.
killing people, and I was all for it, man. But what happens? Aquafina's like hanging off of the bamboo that's like slowly cracking, and that's such a classic kind of like kung fu film. And if you've really seen a lot of the old school wujis or wujia, I don't know how to fucking say the shit, in the old school Chinese kung fu movies and all that stuff, like you've seen that thing 1,000 times. So it
Yeah.
can feel very uh it can feel done. You know, it can feel like something you've seen 1,000 times before. It can feel kind of what's the shit? What's the word I'm looking for here?
Oh, repetitive or like a movie
Right,
trope? Movie.
exactly.
Yeah.
Be a
Mm,
tropey. It can feel
Yep.
like
mm.
this movie has a lot of
lot of
tropes in it.
tropes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the worst
Absolutely,
part of
right?
it. But the tropes that don't work are the MCU tropes. The tropes that do work are the martial arts movies, and even some of like the as I said, Asian
Yeah, but
cinema
why
and
is
stuff
that
like
though? Why is that? That's because you're used
because
to
the
the
Marvel
MCU
tropes
stuff and you're
are
just not as
tired
used
and they're
to the
not
wuxia stuff.
done well. And I have to say, I co-sign you with these are likable actors. I don't think he's a movie star. This guy, like the main guy, like I don't see him being like
Simu Liu.
Jackie Chan or
Yeah.
Tony Jaa or something like that.
You're absolutely wrong about that. He
Well,
absolutely
okay, all
is,
right, all right.
and in this film especially, absolutely.
We'll see. But I don't think he or Aquafina are given the material. And I was going to go into it because I think Aquafina, it's not anyone who finds her annoying in this movie. It's not her fault. She's not given the material here to really pull off the character. Because when she is given a funny joke, she fucking nails it. Like even a semi-funny joke, she nails. Like one of my favorite jokes in it was the Sean Shong thing where
Oh yeah.
he's on the plane, fucking nails it. Like she's just like, so wait a second, and you're almost thinking it just before she says it, like it's like, so you went to hide like out from like this, top secret organization, criminal organization that your dad like runs, and you change your name from Shang to Sean, and then she goes on to
From Shang to
Shang
Sean.
to Sean, yeah. And
Yeah.
then she goes on to
Great
give all the
line,
different
great fucking
examples.
incredible delivery, great moment too, and the transition from the scene
Right,
before it, because it's Shang Chi like giving his, this is what my history was like, and his kind of
right.
traumatizing upbringing and abuse, basically, of training him to become a killer of it by his
Mm,
father, right? And then right at the end, where where he has to like decide whether the
mm,
moment where they would be deciding, what type of person he's gonna be. He was like, I had to ask myself, and then the lady's like,
mm,
beef or vegetarian, whatever fucking bullshit the flight attendant
mm.
asked him, right? That's such a great transition
Oh,
from that heavy kind of dense emotional scene to the very well handled that you just said, comedic
Mm.
humor, right? That was like by Aquafina
Right.
and Simu Liu, because she wasn't alone there, right? It was them
Well,
together who created that magic, and it was incredible.
Simu didn't. I don't know that. Look,
You're
I
full of
want to talk
shit.
about. I want to talk about the characters after, but I'll just say like this about the humor in general of the movie. Like too much of the lines of Aquafina weren't like really. I felt like original, funny comedic lines, and were more the kind of stock MCU funny side character kind of lines, like the same kind of thing that Ned will say to Spider-Man, or the same, like these kind of lines rather than, and they seemed tropey. They seemed obvious and tropey a lot of the way through. And at times, I think that forced Aquafina, unfortunately, to kind of go into the realm of annoying because you're just like, oh, I know what she's going to say. I know how she's going to react to this. I know she's got something to say at this moment, right? Um, I don't think it like undercut the drama too much, the humor in this movie, which was a good thing. And I do think it felt like not like it was fourth wall breaking a lot of the time. It did seem like these were natural things that would come out of what the character was thinking at the time, but it was still
Absolutely.
generic. It was still very, very generic at times, and it got boring when there were like extended
I don't know.
moments
I
of this
disagree.
genericness. To
I think
me,
it felt very honest, and uh it felt specific to the
who
situations
she
that they found
was.
themselves in the film. Like in the film,
Mm,
everything that was built out of all of the circumstances. Every time she came and had her observations of a scene or all that kind of like her funny stuff. Like she was like a dude with a machete for an arm just sliced our butts in half. That's super safe
mm.
comedy, super duper safe. But that's literally what just happened. And it felt
I'll give you an
so real and
example.
honest, and it was funny. And I really appreciated most of the things that happened up until Trevor Slattery showed up and started
I mean, I'll give you an example, right?
bumbling
Like,
around.
um, Shang-Chi goes into a fight club and she sees a wizard fighting Abomination, right? Like, she's into a fight club. Yeah, I know she's just seen Shang-Chi beat up some guys on the bus. And, she's seen that he's, like, pretty much a badass, right? But she thinks that it's a sensible idea. Like she's like all for it just because they need her to be all for it at that point in the film because they need Shang-Chi to go into a
They
fight
need her to
scene
be all for
in a
what?
cage,
Oh, yes.
right? In the cage fighting thing.
Sure.
Hey man, jaded fanboy.
Hey man,
I'll just finish my point here,
Luke?
and then I'll
No, you
introduce
didn't
you.
finish yet because I didn't have the
Yeah, no, I'm
opportunity to
gonna
kill it
say,
yet. So
yeah. So, so the whole humor of that scene where she's trying. Ooh, where did he go? The whole humor of that scene where she's encouraging him to go in a cage fight with any kind of opponent. She's just seen a wizard, a fucking, and a big monster. Just seems fanciful. I know that people maybe are used to these things in the MCU universe. I guess, but I'm pretty
but
sure that
they
would have
are
been
used
the
to him, though.
first.
They are used to him. Remember the first scene we see him when they're talking to each other. Well, not the first scene we see him, but shortly after they do the whole Mustang joyride thing, right?
Yeah,
They talking to their friends. They're literally talking about how this is a world where half of humanity can disappear at any point in time, and like it's time to grow up or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's
no.
not just like us, the audience, we're used to it. They are accustomed to this thing now. It's
So you
weird,
think you
but I
so you
think it would
think
change.
that explains the behavior of like just seeing a wizard fight like a monster, and then she's just like, yeah, let my best friend in the world join, go into this fight, situation, right? You
Yeah.
know what I
I
mean? Like
think
it
so.
seemed to
I think
me
so
like a
because
weird
they showed us
character
that she was
choice for that.
irresponsible. But they showed
Yeah,
us
but
that she was
she
irresponsible.
cares. She
Remember,
cares
they
about
were
Shang
on,
Chi.
but she's still
She
irresponsible.
cares
And
about
she
him.
thinks she just watched him do some amazing shit, right? And she's
Yeah.
kind of irresponsible. And they just showed us that
Amazing
because like
shit,
the whole
fight a
valet
fucking
thing.
super
Yeah.
monster, dude. Like, I mean, like,
She what
it's
she
amazing shit, but there's super monster,
the
right?
super monster just got knocked out, so he clearly wasn't going to be in the
Yeah,
next fight. I don't know
exactly.
what.
Yeah.
And so, well, yeah, if there's a super monster fighting a wizard in this fight, then anybody could be fighting in the next fight, right? It could
Yeah.
be a
Sure, but she
man
saw
made
him beat up five
completely fully of
anybody's
fucking
and a
iron.
dude with a machete for an arm.
Yeah,
And then also they had a
again,
whole
I'm
plane
just
ride over there explaining like the mythical universe, and then also they did mention money, and then her mind kind of flipped. Right? They're like,
I don't
"What?
know.
You signed that
It seemed a
contract?"
bit
And then they're
far
like, "What?"
Yeah.
fetched that somebody
And then
who,
she went and bet
generally
against him. So I don't
speaking,
know. It didn't feel.
cares about him so much, right? That she's suddenly going to be like, I'm just going to put you up in this completely random, you don't know who you're going to fight, what kind of lethality they have. I'm just going to like send you out there to fight. And it seemed it was done only for the comedy, only for that MCU comedy, right? Rather than a logical thing that character would encourage her friend Shang-Chi to do.
So what do you
Is
mean by
that
logic though?
fair?
The
I can
logic of the
understand.
character or the logic of the real
Logic
world that
of the
we exist in?
character, the logic of the
I disagree.
character that I
I
was
disagree.
seeing. I was like, I didn't feel like that. She as much as she
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yes. You said it
irresponsible,
already. I
she
disagree.
loved Shang-Chi that much more. That being said, I'm going to introduce the Jaded Fanboy, my boy, one of the funniest channels on
oh
YouTube. I
please, I
love,
am hardly that funny.
yeah, I love watching his stuff, man.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Um, And I want to know what you know. Let's come in hot. He's going to come in hot, and I'm going to love to see the interaction between you and Yellow,
Uh,
and of course Tim. But
That's weird. Just
what
let
was
it
your what
happen.
was your
Stop
no
metagaming.
true. What was your take on the movie?
It was a nothing movie. It was a useless movie with
Okay.
it was written with like it was written by 14-year-olds who got, hey, we got to write a script for Marvel. There was a nothing like what was the actual value of this story? It was so simple. You took a character that had the 10 rings and you gave it the most simplistic use of that ability as possible.
That's not
I
a thing.
literally thought he was going to be the leader of the hand. Okay? He was just the leader of a bunch of assassins. You take the Mandarin character from the comic book. Okay? Now, obviously, that's not going to happen. You had one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe. He's reduced to the head of an assassin's guild, and he gets taken out by his wife, right? The girl that ends up being his wife. Everybody in that village has the ability that the wife had. So when he goes to
Oh
the
no,
village,
that's not
what?
necessarily true. Everybody,
What?
there were a lot of people were like stronger.
Oh,
Why
I've got
the
a bit of
His
an
echo?
echo
Okay,
sister,
there,
why is
bro.
there? Is that
her
Warren? Okay,
sister, Shang-Chi goes to his aunt. My mother was the only one who could beat him. Could you
right.
teach me? And she starts teaching him. Well, how does she know the abilities that her mother did? Well, if she knows the abilities that her mother
You
did,
could
why
extrapolate
wouldn't
that
everybody in the village know that?
at
Right,
least
right.
some
I'm
of the
not
people
saying
in the
that.
village know that shit.
I'm
You
not saying
have
that
to think
nobody
that.
like there can be more than one person who knows the
But
style, the
nobody
magical.
does.
I was almost done. The
Oh, sorry.
mystical style that they have, but some people are better than others, right? Just like everything else. So it didn't seem like the sister could beat Wu Wen, right? Or Wen Wu.
Right.
It didn't seem like the sister could beat the Mandarin. That's
Hey,
why she was
Yellow,
like,
don't bully
Shang-Chi,
my boy
go get him.
Jaded, bro. I'm not gonna let
Right.
you
What?
bully
And
my
the,
boy
and the
Jaded with
powers
your little comments.
and the
I
powers
said,
that she
treat
had when
everybody
he
the
was
same
I'm
way.
fighting
joking with you,
Shang-Chi,
bro. I'm joking with you.
never uses it again. Why doesn't she use her elemental, airbender powers when she's fighting all the guys in the village?
She's
It might
lost
have
her
taken
powers.
more. It might have taken
Because you
more
can't have her actually
concentration.
win.
We
I
don't
think
know.
she's lost her
no,
powers,
She
though.
was doing. She was
she gives him
performing.
up.
She beat everybody up.
What?
She beat everybody up that she fought.
The
No,
aunt?
but
Like she
he's
didn't.
right.
Yeah.
He's right. That
Michelle
mother scene was
Yo
disrespectful.
didn't lose a single instance in that entire battle
Oh,
that they
Michelle
had.
Yeoh
She was handing everybody the
was
business. So I
The
don't know.
aunt.
Like she was
Michelle
clearly
Yeoh
handling her own.
Hold
was
on. The
one of
aunt.
the highlights of this film, by the way. But like I have to
Yeah,
say,
absolutely.
Michelle
Another one.
Yeoh, every scene with
Yeah,
her was like a highlight.
yeah.
She
She was
wasn't in
great.
it
But
enough.
Shang-Chi's mom says to him as a kid, he's like, he asks, do you have the powers? And she says no. She had to give them up when she left. That's why she doesn't have the powers.
Yeah, but the aunt does it. The aunt and everybody in the village didn't have to give up their powers. They never left the village.
Yeah.
So
Right,
why
right.
weren't
They
they all
have.
Guys,
Yeah.
airbending?
one
Why weren't
second.
the
I
people
want
in
to
the village
introduce Warren, by
airbending?
the way,
But we
and I want to
don't
find
know
out
though. We don't know.
Warren's view on
Oh,
everything. But
sorry.
Warren, before we, because just so that everyone on the panel like, has been introduced and can speak. So Warren, before we start, are you there? Yeah,
Yes. Yes, I am.
just to say, restore the Snyder Cut. Okay.
Oh, shoot.
Warren, what was your
Release
take
this-
on the movie?
So this is gonna sound really funny
It's
because
awful.
I just popped in. Hi everybody. I didn't realize that this was a spoiler review. I just popped in and I just came back from the gym, so I will actually be dropping out. No offense to anyone.
Because you don't want to be spoiled.
I didn't realize
no,
until
cool.
I didn't realize till I just got from the gym, checked your link, and then I came. But I want to say hello to everybody and hope the stream goes well.
No problem. Can you leave by saying restore the Snyder Cut, please?
I am not.
Stop that nonsense.
I'm not gonna say that tonight. Have a good one.
Come on, just what? Just to end
Just
it,
disgusting.
for God's sake, he does it in a funny way. That's why I was asking him. Anyway, So yeah, apparently I just interrupted you, Jaded, for no reason.
Oh no, no
So
problem. Yellow Desert was saying something, so I didn't want to interrupt.
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember either.
Oh, right. No, I do
So-
remember. We
Oh,
don't
okay,
know
go ahead.
what the villagers are actually capable of. We saw that they used weapons forged by Dragon Scale. That's what
Yeah.
we know they're capable of. Maybe the fucking airbending is specific to certain people, right? Like everybody can't do everything. We don't know. So to be like, why didn't the whole village do it? It's like we don't know if they can do it. We don't know how any of that stuff works, right? So just because what we saw we can make certain inferences from doesn't mean that we can extrapolate that to then cover everything. That's a common mistake that I see people make.
And maybe those two were, Shang Chun's mom and aunt were like the leaders, and only the leaders got the power.
You know
but
what?
they didn't explain in that though. So
You know what?
I
You're
don't know.
right. Maybe demons possessed them, and that's why they had the powers. Maybe it was a Tuesday, and that's why they had the powers.
possible.
You can give
That's
any
also possible.
excuse that you want to justify why this movie didn't explain why only those two didn't have the powers.
It's not.
You're just
that's not what's
making up.
happening.
If
No,
those were
no,
the
that's
only,
not what's happening.
if those were the only two that, if the mother and the aunt were the only two that had the powers, why wouldn't the movie have specifically explained that? So we would have understood. That's why they had to use bow and arrows. That's why they had to use the dragon scales. Why wouldn't the movie explain it?
Yellow.
Because they didn't have time and it wasn't
They
important to
didn't
the
have
story that they were
time.
telling.
You had 20 minutes worth of nothing martial arts combat throughout this film in the beginning that was pretty irrelevant.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Really?
That's a completely ridiculous. So you're telling me Shang Chi, the master of martial arts in the Marvel universe, has pointless martial arts scenes in the movie? Like, what are you talking about? Every single one of these movies, every single action sequence in the movie, had a story that it was telling. It had purpose. There was things that changed from before and after. We learned about character from every single action sequence. Every single one. Point one out, bitch. And I'll listen. I understand folks have trouble understanding things that they see. Not everybody is a visual learner, right? Some of you learn better from reading. Some of you learn better from having somebody else beat you over the head with information. I'll explain it to you then. Choose an action sequence, and I'll tell you some of the things that were learned and some of the things that changed after.
Let me ask you a question. You don't want to tell. I'll give you an action scene that doesn't have any character building.
Hold on. The fight in the scene where Cameron was on the pole and they were outside the building. Explain to me the character development of that martial arts scene.
The sister.
The sister.
No, Karen. No, Katie. Sorry, Katie. When they were having the fight scene outside the building, and Katie was on the pole, and she was about to.
Yes, the sister came back and saved her.
No. Yeah. Show me the character development during that fight scene. What was the
sister came back and saved her?
What? The sister.
That is true.
Okay, so
it's not much. It's
so
not
10 minutes.
That's one thing.
Yellow.
The
Death Dealers will also. I didn't say that it was but that's not the only thing because it's not just character development. It's also plot. It's also story. It's also the advancement, right? It's also character motivation, right? It's also the different perspectives of different people. It's not just. It's not. Hey, these are the people that were involved in that scene. Tell me how each one of those characters developed because of that scene. That's not what I said. What I said was every single action sequence had. Let me shut the fuck up. Every single action sequence developed story and developed character and developed. It had all of these different things. Every single action sequence did that in the film.
By the way, like the action scenes are the best part of the movie. But even if they did develop a character, that doesn't necessarily make them good. But I was going to give you an action scene. The one that
What I'm saying is they all serve the point, is what I'm saying. All of the action sequences served a point. They all had purpose. None of them were for no reason. That's what I was saying.
The development whatsoever. You could say
it's not just character development. It's also the advancement of story. It's revelation. It's everything. Things change before and after every single fight scene.
I'm going to give you an example of a fight scene, or not a fight scene, but an action scene. Action set piece that doesn't do that.
We were talking about, again, the conversation was about the conversation was about the martial arts of the film. That's what he said, and then I addressed that.
Oh,
So
the
if you're going to
martial
bring
There
up
was
arts.
some
something
martial
else,
arts that was
Okay.
great. There was some martial arts that was great. But
it was all great.
and if you hold on, if you liked the martial arts, I'm not saying you're not allowed to like the martial arts. Go ahead.
I didn't say
Okay.
you said that.
Okay. So
I
all I'm
addressed
saying
exactly what you said. There's no
okay.
confusion between. I
Okay.
understand what you said. You said that there was this useless scene, and I said you were absolutely wrong. All of the martial arts sequences were fully useful, and they served the story, and they served the characters, and they served points. That's what I said.
K Dots.
Okay.
Take your time to think about this, Jaded. You've got
There's nothing to argue
But-
because all he's going to do is just say the exact same thing. It doesn't matter if I bring up the fact that the whole bus scene was nothing more than a special effects extravaganza fight scene. No, it wasn't.
I agree
Jaded.
that.
It was all about character and plot advancement. Bullshit. Okay.
Well, that's no. Okay, so here's the thing about nuance that a lot of people have struggled with too. I agree that it was way over. It was.
movie.
I agree that it was. I agree that it was overblown. I agree that and I said it at the top of this show, you can go back and watch it if you want to, introducing Shang-Chi's martial arts to the audience in this way felt really, really big, and it was hard to know where they were going to go to next. It was a special effects CGI extravaganza. I agree with that. However, after that scene, right, not only did we learn Shang-Chi was an incredible martial artist, not only did we learn that people were coming for his pendant and coming for him, and Awkwafina also learned that the friend that she's been with for 10 years is not who she thought he was, right? So a lot of things changed because of that fight sequence.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm
Yeah,
not
but
challenging
So both
that.
things,
okay.
so both things
All
are
right,
true,
look.
right?
First of
But it
all,
still
I
served the
want
purpose.
K-Dots.
While
I want
it was
K-Dots
long
to-
and it was overblown and it was a bit much. I gotta agree, it was a bit much. I still loved it, but it was a lot. It felt like a middle of the movie or toward the end of a movie sequence. I
Right.
agree with that.
Listen,
However,
listen.
it still also did serve the story, and that's the point that I made.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so listen, I think that first of all, I want K-Dots. Hi, K-Dots, man. You've walked into like a steaming, like it's hot already. It's like it's getting hot. But
Well, can you
wanna
guys
say
hear me?
that I think that what they're trying to get at, Yellow, is, and I do agree with this. I don't think this, and this is true of most action movies. This isn't like, something that's specific.
It doesn't
or
matter
bad
how
about
calm
this
you
movie.
sound when you
But
say
wait,
some bullshit. Just say the bullshit so I can tell you that you're wrong. Hurry up.
okay, so the action
Yellow
story,
Desert is
the
my
action,
favorite so far.
yeah, I know he's cool. The action sequences aren't like a story in and of themselves. Like they've got a beginning, a middle, and end. Like you could have told the same beats that you're talking about without having a big, like, 10-minute action scene to stop the film and stop the progress of what's going on. They wanted the action scene because we want to see action scenes in a fucking action movie. And they may have added a couple of things that advance the stories in the action scenes, in each one. Like, for instance, the one I was talking about with the tree, where they were driving the cars through to the town with the trees like stopping them, or the forest stopping Aquafina from being able to drive straight or whatever. That's a great action scene, but essentially the only thing it does is get them from the earth land to the
That's
mystical land.
false.
That
That's
doesn't
world building too.
necessarily.
That's false. That's world building too. They talked about how the only way to get there was
Can
through
I
a
finish, and
moving
then
maze,
you can
and it was dangerous. No, because you're
can I
saying
finish?
nonsense. So
Can
if you introduce a
when
premise
I
that's
say
ridiculous,
nonsense, you
before
can
you even make your
interrupt me,
conclusion,
but when
I have to address the premise. But please go ahead, continue.
I'm curious. I want to hear this.
I want to hear what the world building was in that, but
They told you that
essentially,
my fault. You don't
they
want to
could
hear
have
it
just
yet.
walked
Sorry, go
through a
ahead.
gate. Now, would that look?
No, what the
They could have
fuck is
just
wrong
walked.
with you? Did you watch the movie? What were you doing while you were watching this movie?
Wow. Okay, they could have
My
walked through a
favorite part.
fucking
My favorite
maze.
part of the movie had to have been when the father locked up Shang-Chi and Katie and the sister in the same room that had Ben Kingsley's character, who just happened to have a magical animal that came from the village that the father stole and had the ability to tell them how to get to the magic village 3 days before the father did, and had the ability to get them through the forest, and that the forest was so small that the passage would actually close up behind them as they were moving forward.
So how the fuck did
That
Mandarin's army get in
coincidence?
there?
Right.
How,
So-
I
how
didn't
did
even
Mandarin's
catch
army
any
get
of
in
them.
there?
I didn't
How
catch
did
any of
Mandarin's
those
army
coincidences.
get
It
in
was
there?
so subtle.
K
What
dot,
is
was
wrong
no
with you? You
subtle.
people did.
K dot.
You
We
didn't
need
watch
to
the
get
movie.
into
You didn't. You didn't
to
watch the
enter.
movie.
Yes, I
I can't
did.
deal with this.
Okay. We
Well,
need to
how
we
the
need to get
whole
K
army
dot to
got
enter
through?
enter this story, enter the discussion. So K dot,
Yeah.
please, because I can't
What's
shout at the moment. So
uh,
go on.
can you hear me?
What was your? Do you want to talk
Can you
about
hear
the
me?
argument or your
Let me
general
know.
views of the movie? Either one.
Well, can you guys hear me first? I want to make sure I can
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
me. Okay.
For the most part,
I wanted to wait
not anymore.
until my
Not
got my
anymore.
review up, but I'll go ahead and say how I feel now. I thought the movie was tight, bro. This shit was tight, bro. Look, after all the recent MCU stuff we have gotten this year,
Way too
WandaVision,
loud,
Falcon Winter
bro.
Soldier, all that, this made me like I was excited. I haven't been excited since like say
You're
Endgame, bro.
clipping.
This shit
Back
had
up
me
off your
excited.
microphone. Back up off your headset. Whatever it is that you're calling on, just back up off it a little bit. You're clipping and it's
You're
fucking
right,
up
bro.
your.
You're
It's
right.
It's
You're
fucking
right.
up your
comments
audio.
drive through, you know.
Man, I gotta
think
be
it's
all
just
up on
his
y'all. I gotta
audio
be
is
all up
Here we
on
go.
y'all.
Uh-huh.
All right,
That
but
much you get any closer, you're taking me out for a day, honey.
but no, I thought the movie was solid. It was fun. This movie had a lot of emotional beats in this movie that really worked.
Oh,
I really only
you're
had 2
disappointing
issues,
me,
bro.
son.
Bro. It's only 2 issues with this movie. And look, I can agree there is some coincidences. There is some coincidences in this movie, but this movie was just trying to be just simple.
Just little ones.
It was trying to be. It's not trying to be extra. I didn't expect the story to be extra. I think if the story tried to be something more than it already was, you know, then it would have probably failed. But it kept it simple, which I was fine with. A story like this, keep it real simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But this was a great movie. I think this was a great movie.
Come on, bro.
Like,
Every
bro,
time
for
I'm
an
here
MCU, this
trying
shit
to
was fucking
defend you,
solid, bro. I kind of like this
every
better
time
than
I'm
fucking
Black
good.
Widow.
solid,
I kind of like this better than Black Widow. I'm not gonna lie. I like this way better than Black Widow,
You're
bro.
full of shit.
It doesn't take much to be better than the Black Widow movie.
No,
Black Widow was a
Black
good
Widow
film.
was
It
better than
wasn't
this.
bad, but it
Black
wasn't the
Widow
best.
was better than
But
this.
Shang-Chi was fire, bro.
Then you can
And
only
look,
be talking
and
about
look, this is the
action
thing too.
scenes.
Wait,
You're
Nerman,
not
this
be
thing. I
only
thought
talking about the
Aquafina.
action scenes because that's the only thing that was in this movie.
Nerman,
Bonzo
all
was
right, because I'm about to bring.
gonna
Let me
get
bring
gonna get
everything
ripped
besides
apart
the
now.
action. I
This
got
is
All
you.
right,
gonna be
okay,
like a
all right.
gang.
Slow down,
It's
guys.
gonna
We all
be
can't talk at the same time. All right.
yeah. Thanks.
Nerman, you
Nerman,
have to
I'm
recognize that
bringing
you're on a delay, right? So give folks a couple of seconds before you start talking.
Oh, am I on a delay? Oh, okay, sure.
You're always on a delay. That's always your thing. It's a minor delay and it changes, but for the most part, just give folks a couple of years. Czechoslovakian internet is trash.
All right, I'm on. As far as this film goes, when I say the
K-Dots, get off your mic, fam. Back up. It's too close.
I am back off my mic.
Back up more.
It's not his mic, it's his connection. It's because it's not his mic, it's a connection.
No, it's the audio. He's peeking out, and StreamYard is trying to kill it. That's why it's cutting in and out. It's because
Yeah, I know, but
because he's too loud.
It's also his connection.
yeah, it's his
He could
connection.
also.
Flipping thing is.
Would it help if he popped out and popped back
How I
in?
sound now?
Say what you're saying. Say what you're saying.
Much
Oh, you sound
Oh,
good.
you sound fine now.
Is it better?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
100 times better. Yeah.
All right. So when it came to this film, I thought the family thing. So this is what the theme of the movie was. This is literally what it was. Shang-Chi. This movie was about legacy, family. It's mainly legacy. Shang-Chi came from a father who's very rough. He's mean. He's a pretty brutal. He's a pretty brutal dude. And he got his mom who's very soft, caring, nurturing, and all that and stuff. And he had to figure out which side of his family, which side is he going to take into his future. So what he decided to do in this whole film made it all work at the end. He took both his father and his mother. He took it all and made it his own style. And I love how all that came together at the end. because going through this movie, I thought we was gonna get like maybe the father as the villain. Now the father wasn't the villain. He was just another victim of this story too. And when I saw the father try to save Shang-Chi at the end of this film, and Shang-Chi feeling bad for his father about dying, so I was like, man, this shit is really getting me. Got me a little teary-eyed. I ain't cried. Got me a little teary-eyed. A lot of the emotional stuff going on in this movie really worked. It worked. Like, this was a good family movie. This was a family movie, in my opinion. This was really family.
The Mandarin is definitely a villain, though, but he was complex, and that was make him such a great villain.
10 rings.
You're absolutely right,
You know
K-Nuts.
what?
I agree.
What do you mean?
I don't think he
Yellow,
was
10 rings.
complex. I think he was quite simple, and that's what made him really good. I think that, because I was expecting like a twist in the middle where, in fact, he wasn't trying to go after his wife. Spoilers, guys. It's a spoiler review, but he wasn't trying to go after his wife. Like, there was actually some secret thing, like some secret treasure or something that would make him more powerful. That was really what he was.
I thought he was lying too.
Manipulate his son into helping him do by saying he was going after his mother. But I really
is this scenario that you're describing?
Idea.
Does that make him complex, or does that make him simple? Because I would say that makes him simple.
No, I was saying that makes him simple.
The scenario that you're describing, I would say makes him simple. That's what I was saying.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think he.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll expand on that. I don't think he's ready.
I was just to finish off just quickly. Like, I think that the fact that they kept consistent with that actually, I think it was really refreshing. I thought that was really, and you're right in the sense both sides would have made it simple. If he had in the end been going after some MacGuffin to make him more powerful, that would have made it simple. But the fact that he was just driven to bring his family back together, it made him the heart of this story, and it made him like the most compelling and interesting character. And again, the fact
I wouldn't say he was the heart, but he was a pretty compelling character.
Yeah, because
I think he was driven to bring his family back together. I think he was driven specifically for the love of his life, because he was simply gonna cast and kill his children, get them out of the way if they stood in his way.
Oh no, but by then he was being
for
controlled by a fucking
his
demon,
end
dude.
goal.
And
he wasn't being controlled.
He wasn't being controlled.
How do you know
he was being manipulated? Yes,
he wasn't being controlled.
But how do you know?
It didn't seem like
he wasn't being controlled. He was being
You can't take the information that's not there and extrapolate from that and decide what it is.
I agree.
He wasn't being controlled. He wasn't.
How do you know?
He was
making decisions,
but not controlled. He was tricked,
he was
but not
being
tricked.
He was being tricked.
He was tricked.
Like, it was by a very powerful form of trickery. Clearly, nobody had ever.
And I want to mention at the start of the film, they paint the theme of like letting your past die, and there's a line later on saying like she changed him. The past is dead and moving on. But then he says she was wrong. The past doesn't die because they came and killed her or whatever. So that's all I wanted to say.
And then you said, "Kill it if you have to," right? Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. That was
blood for blood.
And see, can I say this?
There's even.
And see, this is what I like about the movie. Like the movie at the end of the day is Shang-Chi has to take the good and you got to take the bad, because that's life. When you got to take the good and you got to take the bad, and you got to just turn it into your own thing to help you out. That's just what it is.
That's an absolute fact. That's
but that's why I like this because it's so real. Because when he got the 10 rings, that's totally from his father. When he gains his mother's fighting style to use the rings, manipulate the energy inside of it, and defeat the demon dragon. Shouts out to the demon dragon. It all.
But I thought you gave that power up.
What?
I thought you gave that power up. Remember?
No, but Jay Willie said it, and I got to respond. They made it clear that the dragon.
Hear what he said. I don't know what you're responding to.
Yeah, exactly. Let Jay clearly make his point and then respond. Okay.
Well, look, you said. I agree that the idea of him using the rings from his father and the power from his mother, but I'm saying didn't his mother give up the power when she left the village?
Yeah.
So didn't she die without the powers?
Yeah,
So then
she
how
died
did
without.
So then how did she get? Then how did the mother give Shang-Chi the powers she gave up?
You
I
didn't,
don't
you didn't watch
understand.
the movie. You
She-
didn't
she-
watch the
Yeah, I
movie.
did.
No, I don't get that.
The
I don't
mother
get
didn't
that.
give him the powers. He had to learn the technique. He learned the technique from the auntie who also knew how to do the airbending like her.
But then his
Also-
No,
mom
but you have to
also
learn the
trained him,
style.
too.
Yeah, because this is the thing. This is another detail I like about the movie. Shang-Chi's father fights very aggressive. The mother fights very gentle. He had to learn how to fight both ways, and that's how she fights. He had to learn how to, fight gentle, move like the wind and stuff. And when he learned how to do that,
redirecting fist.
Right.
yes, then he learned how to.
And even though she didn't have the power,
It was fast.
but hold on, even though she didn't have her power, she was still teaching him the technique as a kid.
No. I thought he had said.
Right.
I thought he had said that he got the rings from his father and the powers from his mother. I didn't say the movie did that. I thought that's what he said. But you're not. You're saying he got the style from his mother.
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, then that's my fault. That's my fault.
And then also the physics work different in Tawa, or correct me.
Ta Lo.
I misinterpreted what he was trying to say. That's all.
Yeah, you can't bring those powers outside of that
Okay, yeah. I thought he had
pocket
said-
universe or whatever.
I thought he had said like he got her power.
I have a quick question just to clarify.
I'm guessing those 10
clarify it.
rings are going to change that, though. I'm guessing those 10 rings are going to make it so that you can take some of that power with him. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So, quick question: was it exactly the dragon? If I remember, was it the dragon that gave the mother the powers? Because I think he said when he left.
She said when she was describing it to Shang-Chi as a baby, she said, "You have the heart of a dragon, of the dragon, or whatever." So I'm guessing that the ability to do it did come from the dragon, or come from the same place as the dragon, or whatever it was. They didn't say it explicitly where they came from, but it sounds like it's leading in that direction. Yeah.
Made sense because when the dragons saved him, it looked like he blessed him with the ability. And mind you, he was also practicing the technique and stuff as a kid.
Right.
And when Auntie had to give him a lesson on it, and when the dragon came up, I think he gave him a blessing, blessed him with some power.
I don't think so.
I'm not saying it happened, but it seemed like it.
The fact that the dragon
I
put
feel
air
like the
back
dragon
into his
came out
lung, I
of a
feel like was
little
enough
bit.
of a blessing. We don't have to worry about
I feel like the dragon came a little bit out of nowhere, but I know it was mentioned in the beginning, and it is true. I'd lost that thread at the end, and I don't think it was. I don't think it was threaded through enough for me to be like, oh, this dragon is just somehow at the bottom of the sea and is just going to save him all of a sudden. It seemed like
So I think
like
what
a
you're
Deus
sensing
Machina
there
to me.
I think what you're speaking to is not that the dragon came out of nowhere, but it's just the shift in the movie that was being told. Like the story changed so drastically that it did feel like it. Because I agree with you that and I've said it again, it was Rumble in the Bronx in the beginning, and then it turned into Journey to the West. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was a very drastic change.
When the soul sucker started sucking the soul of the dragon, I just walked out. I couldn't. I was just like, and what he's doing with the rings on the dragon.
You're out of your mind. It was incredible.
You missed
bro.
the epic
and then you get to
right
see,
after,
you get to see after that, you see fucking Shang-Chi do exactly what K-Dot was talking about. He used his mom's style and then finished it off with his pop style, and that shit was such a callback to all of the kung fu films where somebody has to learn something and then they do it later and it fucking work. Like the fucking Buddhist palm. Have you ever I forgot what the movie is called. Somebody help me out. But bro, when they teach him that move and he sees it kill his master and then he uses it again later, fam, it's a thing, man, and it's such a great way to end that film. And you really I'm glad you walked out, because then you didn't get to enjoy something that I did. I think what I'm saying, and the spiteful part of me appreciates your suffering in that way. So
I wasn't a fan of the dragon stuff at the end, to be honest with you.
It was a big shift in tone, and I can understand why folks
Awkwafina shooting that arrow. She had very little training. I mean, I realized they're kind of setting up the master died, and you might get a lucky shot, but that was kind of okay.
Guang ball.
Tim,
Yeah,
Tim,
It was a
Tim,
big
I
ass
got a
dragon,
response for
bro.
that.
It was a
Tim,
big
I
ass
got
dragon.
a response for it. I'm not trying to.
It wasn't hard to hit.
Yeah,
It was
I
big
got a
as shit.
response.
I know, it's huge. But yeah,
Tim,
go ahead.
I got a response for
And
that.
she had at
Like,
least a day of training. So, like, come on, what more do you want?
You know how
But
much
also, it
time it
seemed a
takes to
bit.
learn how to pull a bow? You know how much time it takes to learn how to pull a
Yeah,
bow?
no, it does
Especially
take
the
a long
poundage.
time.
You'd be sore as hell too,
Yeah,
like
but
doing that.
Why
Like,
it's
did you
movie.
learn how to
It's a
use a
movie.
Yeah.
You have to
bow in
get.
one
You
day?
have to get the shit rolling.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Look,
it still,
it
still
doesn't.
was.
Yeah.
It was. I was because I was watching. I was like, okay, I get why sis she had been training with this weapon the whole time, and I get Shang Chi. He had been training his whole life, but Aquafina, Katie, man,
Right.
this doesn't feel.
she's
This
built
is
like a
weird.
stick.
So
dude.
Well, I got.
wrapped up against that.
Apparently, she was the only
Actually, I
one
have a
with a
response
bow,
for
too.
that.
She
I
was
got
the
a
only one with a
response.
bow.
Yeah.
All right, go
Yeah.
on. What's your response, Kate?
I guess she's a natural, I guess.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
natural.
yeah.
She's a natural. That's exactly what. Because I remember
go.
my first time I shot a bow and arrow. It took me a day to learn it. When I took my first shot, I hit the bullseye. Like I was shocked I hit the bullseye. I was like, "What the hell? I hit the bullseye? Fuck!" I was shocked.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
I was
yeah.
probably a natural. I did once.
No,
It was my
no, that's
first
not,
try.
No, that's called beginner's
Look,
luck.
yeah, that's
It's not a
called
real
luck, yeah.
thing. It's not a real thing, but that's called
I'm
beginner's
not saying
luck.
I'm
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to
Natural
but
would mean
she's
that.
probably
But
just
dude,
natural with it.
dude,
We even
I
saw
think
the first shot she took. She hit that bullseye.
She hit it. She hit the bullseye.
She hit
Even
it.
the
She
master told them,
was
you're
left of
not
center. She
ready.
was left of center.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but I mean, yeah, just
It's
because she
big as
wasn't
hell.
ready doesn't mean she can't fight. She wanted to
but,
fight.
I mean, come on, man,
She wanted
dude.
to fight,
Like,
and that
look,
old lady was,
the
and
first
that
time I
old
played
lady wanted
snooker,
to
I
give her a
did some
chance.
amazing shit as well. But I'm still crap at snooker to this day. So it's like you
I don't know
get
what
lucky
I don't know
sometimes.
what you just I don't know what that word is.
Snooker.
Snooker? What are you
Snooker,
saying?
it's a type of pool.
Snooker.
It's
The one with
pool.
the red balls and the one color white, one color.
The look
It's a
on
British.
your
No
face.
idea.
It's a British version of playing
Pool.
pool.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that they did that to you, nerd man.
Anyway,
The look on your face of
Andrea's putting in
confusion.
the chat that
Snooker feels like a
love.
sexual position.
Mads,
Thank
go
you.
on. Mads, please.
Andrea put in the
What?
chat that the Buddhist poem is from Kung Fu Hustle.
It's other no, the real one, but yes, they also
No,
just
yeah. But you're talking about the old school kung fu movie. I know which one you're talking about.
First of all, shout out to Kung Fu Hustle. It's one of
Is
the
it-
greatest fucking
Right.
kung fu movies ever made.
Facts.
All right, everybody should watch it. I know some people
Facts.
take issue with it being Looney
Let's see
Tunes,
it.
but that's what makes it great.
Facts.
Kung Fu Hustle is fucking. You know
I
what
was
I mean?
more of a
But-
Shaolin soccer fan.
Yeah, no, Shaolin Soccer too, and Kung Fu Chef. Come on, yo,
I'm
all these
an
movies are
IP man.
incredible.
IP man.
Yeah,
or Ip
Ip
Man.
Man, Ip Sifu,
Ip Man is
Sifu.
fire.
Yeah.
Yeah,
1 and
every day all
2. Woo. Yeah.
I just didn't like the only IP. I can't remember which one it was, but the one where he goes up against oh shoot, the boxer. I can't remember his name.
That's the second one, right?
Mike
Donnie
Tyson?
Yen's the main actor.
That's the
And he
third.
goes up against Mike Tyson.
That's
you're
it.
talking
Mike
Man,
Tyson. It was like, I so wanted Mike Tyson to win, though. To be
Yeah,
honest,
that was not the good one. That was the bad one. But yeah, it was.
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
two were the best.
But historically,
That fourth one's good, too. Did you
Ip
watch the
Man
fourth
does go.
I didn't
against
see the fourth
boxer.
one yet.
Oh yeah.
oh, there's a fourth one. I didn't see it.
Yeah, I didn't see the fourth one yet.
It's
Oh, yeah.
good.
Yeah, they got back to it.
Yeah.
Since I don't
So,
have like
what about
a
that
ton of
Aquafina,
time,
guys?
I
You
wanted
guys
to go
like
over
Aquafina?
like best and worst characters for each person. I'll
Best
go
and worst.
last. Yeah, like best and worst characters, like best 2, 3. The characters that you want to mention that stood out, and then like the worst ones we'll do after. So let's go like on a round kind of thing. I guess we'll probably want to talk about what we thought of Shang-Chi, the central hero as well. So I'm gonna start with Tim on this one, and then go Onzo, and then we'll go around. Tim,
Yeah.
best
Like the
characters.
best
And what you thought
characters.
of Shang-Chi as a
Your
central
favorite
person.
character?
Okay, so basically, probably Chihua, Mandarin. He was the best character by far.
What'd you just call
Yeah,
him?
Wenwu. Well, I was looking at the. I got the cast thing pulled up. It spelled like CHIU. I don't know. Sorry. My bad.
No, that's something else. I don't know what that is. That's
That's what it says, dude. It says Tony
What are we-
Luong Chi.
Tony Leung. No, that's his name. Tony
That's
Tony
his
Leon
real name.
Chi. That's his full
Okay.
name.
You know what? I'm just gonna call him
Oh,
the Mandarin. That's what
the
it says.
Mandarin would have
Mandarin
been
on there.
easier, man.
Yeah.
You would have saved yourself a lot of
Oh
trouble
my
just calling
gosh.
him the Mandarin.
Yeah. Don't clip that. All right. Okay. So yeah.
Do it.
Ma-
Do it. Clip it.
Yeah, do it. Mandarin, he had the most like he did have like an arc or whatever. Like he was like this mass like emperor destroying the city, and then he kind of found love and was softened, but then also like kind of changed to bad because he was poisoned by his love for his long lost wife, and he was always poisoned by his past. So I felt a lot of emotion, and probably my second favorite character was probably Michelle Yeoh. I don't know. She
Yeah.
just like she's an act like a movie star. She just like captivates the screen every time she's on.
Yeah.
I really like. She was a great additive. She didn't even have that much screen time, to be honest, but she was great. And then and then I'll probably say I'll give Shang Chi or the Simu.
Simu Liu.
Yeah, I think he gave a great performance. I see people online kind of like from different sphere kind of ragging on him, but no, there was like some in-depth scenes. It's like a character coming into his own. Sure, he likes like the drive and all that, but they're kind of preaching that kind of the whole time with the parents or whatever, or like the relatives or Aquafenix. So he really comes into his own, finds his purpose, and there was a really emotional scene between him and Aquafina where they're sent down there, and he realizes what he has to do. They have discussion.
Oh, such a great scene.
Yeah,
So
and
good.
it's the subtlety. It wasn't over the top. Sometimes less is more. So I think he really did a good job. And
I have to say, this is where I disagree. I mean, it's not like I disliked him. I rooted for him really in the beginning because I like the fact he's a simple working guy, which is a little bit different from what like the MCU usually gives. But I'm just here, you can see my hashtag. But I have to say, as the film went on, he got weaker and weaker as the main protagonist there. I think he got completely taken over by his father as the heart of the story, and it just didn't seem like I knew precisely why this guy was so heroic. Precisely what had led him to want to ensure the people's safety on a bus or whatever, rather than just try and fight his way out of that situation. It just seemed like he was hero because he needed to be hero, or heroic, pardon me. And also there was a blandness there. There was literally, Aquafina, again, with all the MCU jokes, she obviously is given a little bit more spotlight there, and I don't know. It's hard to kind of like put a thing on it. It's kind of similar thing to what happened in Black Panther. It just didn't seem like he, commanded enough attention to be the hero of the story. I feel like even his sister, her story and her arc, even though I don't think she was better as an actress in the film, certainly as an action actress, she was really good, but like as an actress, I don't think she was better. But even her arc garnered more sympathy from me than Shang-Chi. I didn't see why he had to be the central figure of this film.
Because it's a Shang-Chi movie.
Because he was
what
he
you're
was an
saying is
assassin.
not you don't. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because when he was younger, man, he had to like make that decision. You see him as a little boy experiencing all that stuff, which is really messed up. So that's why he decided to walk away. I understand what the sister was stuff, but she was never going on the missions, man. Or like, she was always kind of in the sideline teaching herself. I understand her moral dilemma, but he had a greater moral dilemma. He was sitting at 14 years old, which a job he actually did. I didn't think Marvel was going to make him actually go and kill the person or whatever, like that killed his mom. But man, like he was hiding away from his past and then coming into his own. I feel like, sure, maybe that's not like that direct actor, but as far as a character development, that's kind of multi-complex, right? Because there's different actors playing the younger actor, which I think the little kid and Teenage himself did well, and they had a nice use of the flashback scenes as well, especially with his mentor that was like overly like it was like super rough and stuff, and he was about to kill his mentor. He's like, so yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Shouts out to that bowl cut, Tim. Shouts out to the bowl cut.
Yeah, dude.
So, Anzo, your characters, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it quick. I'm just gonna go with the best, which was the Mandarin. For me, the worst was Aquafina. I did not like that character at all. A lot of the jokes that she did at the beginning of the movie just threw me out of it, even though they toned it down a bit towards the end where she wasn't making as much, but that character just...
because they had fucking Ben Kingsley back for no
Ben,
reason,
Ben,
making all
Kings,
the jokes.
Ben Kingsley came back and kind of took that away from her as well.
Ben Kingsley was
And
worse
served
than her,
no
too.
purpose. Hey, just did not enjoy him to show up a little bit and go away. Whatever, it was weird. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, he didn't do shit. But for me, like I said,
I actually like Ben Kingsley. He was a good translator.
On that thought, I was confused when you guys started talking about Ben Kingsley being in there, because in All Hail the King, it was heavily implied that they were killing him off.
Oh, really?
They captured him. They took him. They didn't really say that they were going to kill him, though. But
Okay.
I'm guessing that he was scheduled for execution. If I'm not mistaken, that's what he did say.
Yeah, that's what it was really implied. So
because what happened was he ended up being a good court jester and entertainer. So
right. Yeah. Right.
He was good entertainment for the soldiers.
Right. They were about to kill
That's
him, and
why
then he started doing. Yeah, he started to doing some plays or whatever.
That Hamlet.
Singing it. Yeah, and then they fucking ended up using him as a gesture. Yeah, he was a bad character, dude. But for me, it was just, I don't know, there was just something about Aquafina that I didn't like. Yeah, the character was whack
I
to
didn't
me.
think it was her fault, though. I honestly didn't, because when she had funny lines, she pulled it off. It was there were lines in there of hers that nobody could have saved because they went against. I gave an example earlier, which Yella kind of like obviously disagrees with me on, but like when she, the scene where she's going into the cave, or she's encouraging Shang-Chi to go into a cave, where she's just sort of a monster and like a wizard fighting it out in a brutal battle. And she's encouraging her best friend, who, as far as she knows, is just a human who's really, really good at martial arts, true. But these are monsters and fucking wizards that she's just seen. Why at that point would she encourage somebody that she really loves to go into this fight, not knowing the rules or the sense of what this world is? Although I did find the guy who was
She bet against him.
fight
She didn't think he could win.
funny.
To be fair to her, she bet against him because she knew he couldn't win.
But for all she
Even though
knew,
it's still
the next
effed up.
fight could have been a death match. This was an underground like fight club, right?
Yeah, and
she didn't know what the rules or
I
whatever
agree.
of this kind
I
of
agree.
thing is.
Sometimes
It was
Aquafina
there
wasn't working
to be
with the
a
tone.
joke, right? Like, and at any expense, just to add some kind of humor to this film. Whereas that character, from everything you've seen about how she felt about Shang-Chi, would not have risked his life like that. So that's the kind of thing where you just go, it's the MCU. They need to put a joke here to keep people's attention, because their story is thin at this moment, or they don't have enough to fill out this story, so they have to, come with the jokes or whatever that aren't necessarily funny to keep people's attention. That being said, AMBW man, how you doing, bro?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Oh, very good.
Good to
I'm
see you
learning
finally.
so much.
Can I just say this one thing really quickly?
Yeah, sure.
As one thing, like to me, representation does matter and all that stuff. And as you can see, I'm Asian or Asian American. I really like, this is one of those few times I think that, like, actually no, the last movie that was like this, I guess, is like Crazy Rich Asians, which had a mostly Asian cast. You know what I mean? Like, I keep going to these types of movies and I keep sort of underestimating just how, like, I guess, like, emotionally I sort of feel. I mean, like, first of all, just to make it clear, I didn't get there and like start crying or anything like that because it's Asian people. I just felt like it did make me feel like, wow,
felt
like this is
good, though.
surreal. It's a good feeling. Exactly.
Yeah,
I felt
yeah.
I was engrossed in it. You know what I mean? I felt like, man, you know what I mean? Like this is, you know what I mean? Like this, it's just a very positive feeling. You know what I mean? And I like the fact that they, yes, while they did include a lot, obviously, okay, first of all, another point really quickly, I want to bring it up. Even though they say that it breaks stereotypes, I mean, it kind of embraces it too, because, you know, Asian people doing karate and flying around hitting each
They
other.
definitely
I do know
raised
that is part of the comic book, so I'm not criticizing that. But I do want to say that I did appreciate the fact that they tried to break a lot of stereotypes. Like, for instance, Shang-Chi and Katie are both sort of in their 30s, right? And they're both slackers. You know what I mean? In Shang-Chi, obviously, I don't know, you guys probably already said this, but like, he's the only MCU superhero without a quote-unquote power. Like, yes, he does have the rings now, right? So he can do all that cool shit now. But at the same time, like, you know what I mean? He's just, at the end of the day, he's a very normal dude. And I feel like,
he's
you
got
know,
his
that
mother's
kind of,
abilities as well. But
Well,
yeah, he's
that's
a
what he
normal
was in the
dude.
comic books. That's what he was in the
yeah.
magazine.
But he's a normal dude. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
continue,
just a
man.
normal dude.
Yeah, like Black Widow's a normal chick, right? So, like,
No. She's a super spy. He
Yeah,
means
yeah,
like
Black,
normal
He's a
dude, like a
super
working
spy.
class
no, what I'm
kind of.
saying though, like she
He has
doesn't
that
have.
really
She has
cool
no
pose.
powers.
Yes, no.
She has that really
Yeah.
cool pose. Remember, you know, the one where she flips her hair back.
Oh yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but I'm saying I think you're talking about more like he's a working class like kind of guy. He's a slacker. He's
Yeah, but
something
this is the
like
thing.
like that goes against the Asian stereotypes one,
But
and
but
then also
but
like
but
makes him
Nerman,
a
even
little more relatable than you know.
but even though
But
he
go
was a
on.
working man and a slacker, he was still an assassin. He was trained as an assassin. He was only a working man, and because he left what he was. If he would have stayed in, he would have been an assassin for his father, right? So
Yeah.
I wanted a MBW to finish his thought though, and then we can all
oh,
respond
yeah.
to it.
Okay, so one more thing, I brought this up with a lot of like my Asian friends. Well, not I don't have them, but like a lot of Asian people I know, and I've asked them this too. And like for me, I'm a spoiler time. You know, I'm a very spoiler type of guy, so I like reading spoilers ahead of time. So I read the premise. I basically kind of knew what would happen. One thing that I was sort of disappointed and puzzled by was like, why is Shang-Chi technically so far the only leading man in the MCU without an actual definitive love interest? And I'm gonna say this really quickly right now, and I know this is not, like obviously, why would anyone have to think about this? But like Asian men get emasculated all the time in the fucking Western media. You know what I
The
mean?
desexualization of the
I
Asian man.
I
He's
can
never the
agree with
love
Yes,
that.
interest. He's the
absolutely.
gay best friend. There's all kinds of
Hmm
never the
Yes,
romantic. That's why Crazy Rich Asians was so lauded because it was an opportunity where we get to see the Asian leading man get the girl. Yeah, yeah, that's a thing.
yeah. And see, in this movie, I love this movie. I would
Same thing
honestly
with
give it
Black.
like oh yeah, I'm sorry. I would give it like probably like a 4.5 out of 5. That's how much I really liked it. But I don't like
Wow.
I don't like the fact that he doesn't have a love interest in this movie. And I know people will say, "Oh, Aquafina," but like they didn't. There was nothing really made official about that relationship, if they're together or not. Yeah, like she's holding on to him right at the end of the movie when they go to see Wong or whatever. But they're not. It's still very ambiguous. So for
Yeah,
me, as an
it
Asian
felt
American
platonic.
man, yeah, it felt more platonic. Like she's friends with him, right, or whatever. I don't know. But the thing is like, on the one hand, I was thinking, I'm trying to be optimistic. Maybe they will end up together because if you think about it, Tony and Pepper didn't end up together till what, Iron Man 2. So it took 2 movies to get there. But I'm just saying, like, I'm hoping that if there is a sequel or whatever, that they do end up together or he gets a love interest. Because in the comics, he's not asexual. He's not bi. He's not, he's a straight male, right? And he has a love interest. It's Maria Vasquez. It's Tarantula or whatever. This Hispanic Latina superhero chick or whatever, right? But they don't do any of that stuff there. And that's one thing that I'm still very disappointed on. I've talked about it on my channel. Look, the director of this guy, the director of this movie, Destin Daniel Cretton, whatever his name is, and then the writer of this, David Callahan, they're both Asian men, right? I don't understand it. I'm sorry. I know this probably seems like a really random complaint. I love this movie, but I didn't appreciate the fact that this movie did nothing to sort of help promote Asian men, in the media when this whole fucking movie is about an Asian guy. or Asian American guy, and it's
There
the
was
MCU.
I'll
there
say this.
was a
I
love
think they, it
story in the
was.
film though. So you're saying that they should have had another love story as well, another romance
Well,
like subplot,
Because that
okay,
kind
yo,
of would have
no,
taken
no,
away
well,
from the
That's
mother
a good
father
point.
thing.
That's a
or
good
right,
point
no,
just
with the
show
father and
him,
the
or
mother.
just
But
show him being
but I
like
think
sexual
in
or
terms
flirty
of
with somebody.
I think in
Hold on,
terms of the
Nerman, shut up. I'm trying
leading.
to ask for clarification. I'm not making a point. I'm asking his opinion about something.
yeah, I do see your point, but also like when
If
Wu
he's
lost
trying
his wife,
to
when
add to the
she was
conversation,
murdered,
all right.
which,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
by the way, I
So
do want
would
to. Oh,
would a scene where Simu Liu is being flirtation in some way that seems to be successful with any woman, would that have satisfied that? Would that have satisfied that desire feel like
Desire.
that
That
need to
box.
see?
like
Yeah,
to be
would that
honest,
have
yeah.
checked that?
No, to be honest,
Yeah.
yes, and I'll
Okay.
tell you why really quickly, because honestly, this is definitely related. It's not off topic. I actually talked with Nerman on my stream like an hour ago or so. Like I feel like Simu or sorry, no, Shang Chi or whatever. He was kind of at times the least interesting character in the story. Yes, it's called Shang Chi or whatever, and he's the lead. No one is debating that. But at the same time, like anytime you had him with someone else, or the movies going along in general, like it felt like he lacked the most personality. In fact, it felt like there could have been more from him. I wanted more from his character. So I think like romantically, okay. First of all, I just want to say also this: I don't like in general for these MCU movies. You could argue that a lot of these love interests or whatever, they don't always need to be there. But for the most part,
Right, I
everybody
was
has a
about
love
to say
interest.
that.
Exactly.
Well,
Iron Man, Thor, even the Thor romance is completely just useless,
And
right?
then
But
thrown away
they still have
anyway.
it. Exactly.
Right.
Even fucking Ant-Man. Ant-Man has a movie called Ant-Man
So
and the Wasp.
this
So
this is
exactly.
what this is. Yeah, this is what I was going to say. It was the point I was going to go into earlier. It seems like the answer, to you would be like one of the main criticisms of the MCU is all of these kind of love interests and how useful they are, to the story. Are they just obligatory kind of tropes that you need this leading man to have? Like, but why is it that my talk would be? Why is it that you decide usually to experiment and change? In a and this is a very, very tropey movie. So it's not like they decided to get rid of a bunch of MCU tropes that people criticize. Why would you choose, like, with your first Asian lead to be that at this point we're going to be like, we're going to abandon this thing that is often criticized, right?
well,
Yeah.
It seems
And
to me very convenient, like, or yeah, like not a little bit tone deaf, I would say,
right,
because
A and
right.
you're right on
BW,
that, and it happens with blacks as well. Like,
A and BW, I completely understand what you're gonna say, what you're saying, because I was just about to say to Nerdman, I think they do the same thing to black men a lot in these movies, right?
Mhm.
Where they either make them gay or some bullshit like that. So I agree with
which
you
is fine, by the
100%.
way.
I'm not
It's
saying it's not
fine.
fine. I'm not saying it's not fine, Nerdman. I'm just saying they do it way too much. You know
Right.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
And also, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Let me interrupt, but I also want to add one last thing. Like on that note, I was just gonna say T'Challa, like R.I.P. Obviously, but the fact that even in Black Panther, he has a romance
Right.
with what's her name? The chick
Nakia.
from Kenya.
Nakia.
Yeah, Nikia. That yeah. And she is. I mean, even though they start out that movie as exes or whatever, they're not lovers anymore. They end up together by the end. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, again, you could argue that maybe you take that relationship or whatever, it doesn't add much. But at the same time, I'm just saying for me, like I was saying before, representation doesn't matter. I went into this movie with lower expectations and I came out with a huge ass smile on my face because guess what? No shit, representation does fucking matter. This is one of the
Facts.
few movies that
Facts.
exactly that's the
Yeah.
one thing, and that's the thing. The Black Panther, what I mean? I'm sure that's how a lot of people of color, felt like that's the thing. You know what I mean? I
Facts.
love the movie, but I can't really. I'll be honest here. I couldn't get into it as much or appreciate it as much on that level, even though I would have loved to. When I went to see this movie, I literally felt, you know what? I'm glad I saw this movie. I want to see more. I want to see more movies like this in Black Panther. You know what I mean? I hope Namor. I'm hearing things that Namor is going to be an all Hispanic cast too. So you know what I mean? Like I like these movies, but when it comes to representation, you gotta remember, man, Asian guys, like Asian people in general, we deserve equal representation too. Why is Aquafina like friend zoning? You're not friend zoning. You know what I mean? Just why
Friends,
is he not have a love interest?
and
And it's not,
here's the
you know what I
funny
mean?
thing. Here's the funny thing about that. Actually, you talk about like past relationships outside of Iron Man. There's been a huge amount of chemistry between the lead and like the main female character. In this one
Thor
of the
and Jane
good
Foster
things
didn't
about
have good
Shang-Chi,
chemistry either.
they had no chemistry at all.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So this one, I actually think Aquafina did build up a little bit of chemistry with Shang-Chi. I really believe their friendship, and it was one of the more heartwarming things about the movie that made me root for the characters. Even though I got somewhat bored at times with the way they chose to do the dialogue and some of the comedy beats. But again, there was a chemistry there. So of all of the people you could say, hey, let's throw these guys together. I would have thought this would have been a nice one to do, where it was believable.
Well, I mean, there's still time.
I did.
Right?
I did want to say this real quick to AMBW. I think because what this reminded me of when they did that reminded me of Blade One, because they did the same exact thing. They had this hot ass chick in the movie, but he did with her. He wasn't trying to clap in cheeks. So in this movie, I like that they did that because at the end of the day,
what movie did you
Blade
just say?
One.
Blade
Remember
wasn't
Blade
trying to
One?
clap cheeks?
Blade One. He had a hot chick in there, but he didn't make out with her. Nothing. They have sex with her. Because in those type of movies, the main lead gets the girl. He didn't get the girl in the first movie. And trying to get at the girl.
Didn't she turn into a vampire?
No,
he saved her.
The doctor.
He did her to get her power back. His power back.
Yeah, he just drained her blood.
He did suck her blood.
I mean, you can say
Vampires,
that's
this
some
can't be
sexual stuff,
argued.
but
Yeah.
it wasn't nothing
That's the
romantic.
thing about vampires, though, right? Like that's how that's all vampires are, is a fucking like sexual allegory and shit. So
yeah,
I don't know, but I can see your point, though. Yeah, I can see your point that it didn't seem like there was the
Let me point out
love
something.
interest story in that movie. But continue, Das.
But see, what I like about this is that it would have been corny for them to immediately put them together just because they established to us, they knew each other for 10 years and they just automatically start making out by the end of the movie. I think it's by the second movie, they should get together because, as Norman said, it was building seeds for there to be chemistry. Like at the end of the film, when they lit the lanterns and she was holding on to Shang Chi and stuff, you can see her getting close. And even at the end, when she walked to the pole wall, she holding on to his arm and stuff. Like by the second movie, I want to see them together because I don't want to wait. Do it like Pepper and Tony. Take it slow. Take it slow. Don't rush it in the first movie. Let them get together because I think they would be a great couple. I honestly want to see those two together.
I wouldn't have had a problem if they had progressed the romance in this, right? Because when people go through things like that, you can watch them in all types of action movies. They hate each other at first, and then they go through some drama, and that's where they become closer, right? So they could have easily done that in this movie.
To me, it makes sense for them not to, because the overall theme of this movie was coming into their own. They were considered slackers, right, and didn't want to commit to what they're like. It was an overlying theme, and taking your shot with the arrow. If you don't shoot the arrow, you're not going to get it. So what Anzo is kind of saying, with certain events, will push them into that, and I felt like it was displayed at the end. And think about Captain America, our boy, he frozen over ice, and then it took 10 years afterwards to even he has to go back in time to get Peggy. He didn't kiss Peggy before he got frozen.
No, but they did have a love interest though by the end of that Captain America movie.
Yeah, but they weren't both touch. Yeah, but they didn't kiss or hug.
No, they did kiss on the runway scene when he's
they kissed
right
on the
before he jumped onto the plane. Yeah, they did that. I don't know. No, you guys all have valid points, and I've thought about this too. I was just thinking, off the bat, for me there is that added pressure. Because it's not the same for all guys, but for Asian men in the media and in the real world, it is Asian men basically get shit on by the Western media, and because of that,
you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, exactly, and because of that, because I just want to say I was expecting more from this team behind this film. I was expecting more from Destin Daniel Cretton. I was expecting more from Dave Callahan. even Kevin Feige. You know what I mean? Like one of the whitest dudes ever, but he seems to be more of a proponent for, you know what I mean, this kind of thing in film.
Well,
You know
So
what I
you
mean?
wanted them to
it's
break
for
the
business
stereotype,
reasons.
right?
It's for
Yes,
business
yes,
reasons.
it
Yeah,
is.
I agree.
MPW.
I understand that
He's
completely.
not. He's not a proponent in this. Well, I don't know him personally, but clearly it's for
Nah.
business reasons why he's doing.
But
But
the movie
I'll
was
say,
great.
I'll say this,
Go ahead.
Kevin, just quickly about what you said. Um, the one of the things I think is important is when we identify these things as blacks and Asians, we need to come together and as a little bit of a unity as minorities to say, hey, cut this shit out. I don't mind a gay black character. That doesn't upset my masculinity at all or anything like that. It's fine. Gay black best friend character, absolutely fine. Gay black people in the world, they're my brothers and sisters as well. My whole point though is when you don't when a lead guy like Idris Elba, who's like a sex symbol around the world, right? Like people love this guy. He's never even been offered a romantic lead before in a film. He says, "Hey, I don't know why nobody bothers to offer
I
me
never
like
thought of
romantic
that.
leads," you know. And it's just
I
like
don't think that is true.
he said that in an interview.
What about the movie he
I
had with
think
the
what's
kids?
true.
That he hasn't had a romantic. What about the movie with the kids, where he had the kids, man, and he ended up having a relationship
Ooh.
with a woman in that movie?
Oh, you mean that Tyler
Idris
Perry
Elba.
movie?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Captain Union.
yeah.
Tyler
You talking
Perry
about
movies don't count.
Daddy's Little Girls?
I think it's
Yeah,
Daddy's Little Girls. Yeah,
Didn't
it,
wasn't the whole
it,
point of that like she died or whatever? And
yeah, but he ended up with someone at the end of
I
that
think
yeah,
he
movie,
you know,
though.
meant
Gabrielle
more
Union.
I
Yeah,
think he meant more in the vein of like a romantic comedy, a romantic, like a romantic film, like where he's like the lead guy, across from whoever, right?
Yeah, well, that would
But
have
he
changed if they
hasn't
made
been
Idris
offered
Elba
those kind of
007. That's
movies,
for sure.
yeah.
right? You know, I think that's more what he's talking about. And then if you think about look at what was that movie, the Alien movie he was in, right? Like I'm talking about the franchise Aliens, not an Alien movie, but
Yeah, you're
like
talking about Covenant.
Prometheus, right?
No,
Was it Covenant
Covenant.
or
Alien
Prometheus?
Covenant. It was Covenant.
You sure it wasn't Prometheus?
No, it
Yeah,
wasn't Prometheus. It was the second one
Most
where they
recent
went
one
to
was
the
Covenant.
where they went to the planet, and then he ends up sleeping with the white girl in that movie.
yeah.
No, he doesn't. You're,
Yes, he does.
I, I
Charlie
swear
Theron.
you're talking about a sequel. I'm talking about Charlize Theron, right? Does he sleep with
You're
Oh
her?
wait,
talking
no,
about Alien Covenant, the Alien movie you're talking about.
no, he's right. No, yeah, the one that Idris Elba was in, it was the one with Charlize Theron. Yeah,
Yeah,
Prometheus.
yeah.
Oh,
He ends up
Prometheus. Yeah,
sleeping with. Yeah,
Prometheus.
it's Prometheus.
Yeah,
He
it's
was
that
in
one.
Yeah, it's
Prometheus.
Prometheus.
No, he's in Prometheus.
But you never see them like. I think it's implied at some point they have a. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Either she's flirting with him or it's implied they sleep together. But you never see an
It's
on-screen
implied they sleep
kiss.
together.
Yeah, you never see
Yeah,
an
she
on-screen
comes.
kiss, right? It's just
She
not going
comes
to
to
happen. It's not
she
showing up.
comes to his room and she tells him he has 5 minutes to come and give him the thing.
Right,
But yeah, they never have an on-stream kiss. I know. You agree, Richard?
right. It's just stuff like that. It's like, what's going on here? Why? If that was Tom Cruise, if that was any other actor,
Will Smith, dude, he's had some romantic stuff.
Well, not in that AI movie. Not
Okay,
in iRobot.
in the movie with Margot Robbie. He's also in
that
Hitchcock.
one movie.
That was two romantic movies there.
Well, yeah, well,
Did he?
Hitchcock.
And I want to mention
Did he
like
kiss?
some of his.
Did you see an on-screen kiss with him and Charlize Theron in Hancock? Because I
I
haven't
think
seen it, but I'll be very
I
shocked.
No,
believe
they
if he did.
kissed. They
I
kissed.
believe there is
Yeah.
one. Yes, they
She
did.
kissed and then
Okay,
she threw him
all right.
into the street.
Yeah.
She definitely kissed Margot
Okay.
Robbie in that
He did
in
kiss
that other
Margot
one.
Robbie. I know that. I know that.
Yeah, that one movie. But I mean, the thing with Matthew McConaughey, they wouldn't put him in a serious role. He had to make Dallas Buyers Club. That was on like they wouldn't. They were like, no, you're just going to be in rom-coms. We don't trust you as a serious actor. Sometimes they're just like, I'm not saying this is like the absolute truth, but sometimes people are like typecasted, and it's hard for them to
I
break
agree.
out of it
Yeah.
because Idris Elba is more grittier. Like we were talking about, like Suicide Squad. Like Will Smith is definitely a lot more kind of like he doesn't seem as a badass as Idris Elba. Will Smith is kind of more kind of Fresh Prince, the same character in each role, but there's an element of that, So
I mean,
I understand what you're saying.
If you notice with
I'll give you another
Idris,
fantastic example, but go on, K-Dots. I will give
if
another
you
example.
if you notice with
Because it involves
Idris,
a black and Asian actor.
he kind of gets casted in roles with like I don't say villainous characters, but like characters that kind of like anti-heroes, villains, and stuff. Kind of gets cast in those roles. Not saying those roles are bad, but I feel like he's casted in those kind of roles a lot.
Yeah, like Sylvester Stallone, I don't know, outside of Rocky, like was he in anything romantic? Like after Rocky?
Assassins.
Assassins.
Yeah. With
I was gonna say
Sharon Stone, he had a scene with her, a sex scene with her.
Yeah, but look, Sylvester Stallone isn't like a sex symbol. Do you know what I mean? When you've got Leonardo DiCaprio, you've got Matt Damon, you've got all of those kind of leading white guys, right? Compare how many sex scenes, kissing scenes that these guys have compared to Denzel Washington, compared to Idris Elba. It's like every movie they're seen as sexual beings. They de-emphasize that really with black characters, and if there is an Asian character in the lead, which is very rare, even in comparison to blacks, they de-emphasize that in them. I was going to give another great example, which is the Jackie Chan. The American movie with
Rush Hour?
Rush Hour, right? Dudes,
With the black
both
guy.
of
His
them,
name is Chris
right?
Tucker.
Chris Tucker, sorry.
You don't know that shit.
He used to be a comedian.
But, Chris Tucker in that movie, obviously Jackie Chan doesn't have a love interest in that movie. Well, again, I don't know why, but, he doesn't have a love interest in that
You do
movie.
know why.
Chris Tucker,
AMBW just told you why.
Well, yeah, true. But
I mean, to be fair, neither of them got a love interest in that movie.
No, but Chris Tucker.
No, not necessarily. Chris Tucker, yeah, the last one.
In two, Jackie Chan.
He's
Italian chick. Yeah, they got together.
He's flirting with a woman all through that. Nothing happens of it. It's just like,
Yeah, but that movie, you know what I mean? That movie was never supposed to be like. But I understand what you're saying. Like, but that movie's not like that, right? It's
Sure. But neither is what's that Leo DiCaprio movie, Scorsese, where it's got Matt Damon in
The
it.
Departed.
The Departed.
The Departed. That's not that type of movie. He still has like,
Yeah, but that was part of it.
They make time for it with white leads.
Yeah,
they make time
it's
for
definitely
that.
a thing. It's definitely a thing. They definitely it is definitely a thing. And when AMBW was saying it before, they definitely they don't give the Asian leads the same things that they give all the other leads. That's a fact. There's that's it. You know what I mean?
Rock got the girl in Jungle Cruise though.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Emily Blunt.
Yep. On-screen kiss with her at the end and everything.
Oh, it's getting better. It's good. It's good that it's getting better. But
The Rock smells what's cooking. Sorry.
Other than that, no, that's a really good point you brought up, AMBW, dude. Other than that, I wanted
it does need to happen more.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really glad you had that experience as well with this film. I wanted to get what everyone else thinks about, like, is it significant, like, this kind of representation in the movie? Does it, like, do you think it helps? And do you think it's going to... I don't know. I want to just get what everyone's thoughts were on what AMBW said.
I do have a question. I do have a question because when it came to Blade 2 and Blade 3, right, Wesley Snipes owned the franchise, so he had full control. When it comes to Jackie Chan movies, he pretty much directs and produces and writes them. So do you think that it's the writers who aren't doing it, or do you think it's the producers going, no, try and keep that down. Because
Well,
AMPW had
Asian
said,
movies don't have that problem that we're talking about. We're talking about Hollywood movies starring Asian.
right, well,
American
Rumble in the
film.
Bronx, right? I mean, like, wasn't Rumble in the Bronx directed and written by Jackie Chan as well? I mean, he's
No,
done
he
a
didn't.
He
I don't
definitely had a
think
big
I
part
don't
in it.
think
I'm
it's
not sure if he
directed by
directed
Jackie
it.
Chan though.
I don't know if
I'm
he
sorry?
wrote it.
He had a big part.
I'm
He had a
gonna
big part in it
look
though.
now.
Yeah, I think he was
Yeah, he
I'll look
wasn't
now.
directed by him.
Oh, it wasn't?
Yeah,
Okay,
but
I'm
he
just
had a
saying
love
that.
interest
But
in
again,
that.
even
Stanley
with Blade 2 and
Tong.
3,
Yeah,
I
didn't he
just
have a
No,
love interest in that?
Yeah, it was directed by Stanley Tong.
okay.
Just,
no,
He
the
had a
Yeah,
love
problem.
well, yeah,
interest in that as
he
well.
stole. He stole the gang members. He stole the main gang members, lady, in that film, Rumble the Bronx.
Yeah,
She was a bad
yeah.
No,
lady too.
I thought he was with the girl that was the owner of the store. Wasn't that
No.
the one that?
No. I thought they was gonna get together, but he got together with the gang leader's girlfriend.
I don't
It made it
honestly.
seem like they would get together. But she also liked him. The girl in the store liked him too. The girl in the store liked him.
You see, the problem with that is that jaded. Like, sorry, answer your question real quickly. The problem is not the writers. The problem is the studio executives.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. You think it's the studio executive saying, "Don't do it," as opposed to the writers going, "I'm not going to do it." Yeah, that's.
I don't know that it's a
No,
huge conspiracy in the way that I think it's a blind spot.
Well, it was no. It
That
started as it's like now it's more of like a tradition. You know, it's just now the minds have been kind of
the
molded to
mindset.
even think of it as like not a viable option, right? So you don't even have to say consciously, hey, don't do it. It's just we automatically, or not we, but people automatically
Don't do it.
assume these
Yeah.
things about these kinds of characters, right? It becomes like
It's a standard trope.
it's an unconscious, right? It's an unconscious kind of bias that has become a trope. And it's just a thing that keeps happening over and over again.
Yeah, it was just like how the black men always used to die out first in the horror movies. Same kind of thing, man. You know what I mean?
It's the exact same
That
thing.
became a meme. That became a joke, though. Eventually, like, even in the Scream movies,
Yes.
like, they made fun of that.
Yeah, it did become a joke, but it was a real thing back in the day, man. Anytime you watched a horror movie and you seen there was one black dude in it, you know he was gonna die first.
Yeah, but you also knew that Ditzy Blonde was gonna die too, right? And any Ditzy Blonde
The
that was
blondes
running
too,
through
the
the
blonde
forest,
thing too. Yeah.
whoever was running through the forest was gonna die. I mean,
The blonde thing first too. Yeah,
But-
I agree.
What is your
blonde usually
favorite?
live longer, though.
What's your favorite?
A little bit
early
longer. Yeah,
black-
it's the black guy, then the blonde. Yeah, or if they
Then who's
can,
ever doing drugs, who's ever having
Right,
sex, they
sex.
die.
Yeah.
And then finally, the camp counselors and
Yeah.
shit, the adults,
Oh.
they
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the
What's
two
your favorite
motherfuckers who are
early?
meant to be in love at the end who get to stay alive, hopefully.
I'm going to start with Mads on this. If you can remember, what's your favorite early death of a black guy in a movie or horror movie?
Oh, shoot.
You gotta be kidding.
You're picking a real
I got
hard one.
one.
When I have seen I am a big horror buff, so I've seen a lot of the old horror movies.
Yeah, it's hard to pick. It's hard to pick, man.
Personally, I've always been more leaning towards Freddy for any of the movies. He was always my favorite of the main villains. But you just got to give this shout out to LL Cool J. I mean, he's the one that broke the mold, though.
Facts.
Yes.
And it's LL Cool J. I mean, come on.
Facts.
I didn't even know that one. Which Halloween is that one?
No, that's
No, it's
you're
Deep
so
Blue
adorable.
Sea.
Oh, y'all really wanted to bust the
Blue Sea.
rhymes to H2O?
Yeah, but
No,
that
no.
came after. That came after.
Yeah, no, he was playing a ship in a underwater shark laboratory.
Right. Wasn't it? That's Deep Blue Sea, no?
Yeah, I think it's Deep Blue Sea. Yeah,
Yeah, with Samuel.
there was two movies that came out with very similar names at the same time, and
which one was the one that Samuel L. Jackson got eaten by the shark?
That's my favorite scene. if you want to talk about black man dying, I don't think he.
Black man dying. That one wins.
That one wins hands down. That one wins because it wasn't expected. He was standing there giving his speech, and then the shark came up and just went boom. I was like, holy shit.
Actually,
First off, they killed Samuel Jackson. Then I was like, damn, the way he did it. Yeah, that was fire.
You know, I've got to go. Like, there's two. There's one in, but I'm not sure if I'm remembering this correctly because this movie is so trash that I didn't even, watch it again. But Jurassic Park 2, I'm pretty sure has an amazing death of a black guy, like just like out of nowhere, like the dinosaurs fucking like grab his ass. But my absolute favorite one is Darwin from X-Men First Class.
Oh my god,
that was trash, bro.
That was
bullshit.
Yeah, that was some bullshit.
That's the one character that's invulnerable, and that's the one you kill. Brilliant.
He was so
He wasn't the first one to die.
Did you guys mention
he died at all?
He was. Wait,
He died at all.
Into the fight.
oh yeah, he was.
Who died first?
So stupid.
I don't remember.
He was first black guy on the team.
First.
He was first black guy on the team.
Dude, Deep
He
Blue
was the
Sea
only
when
black
Samuel
guy on. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I thought he was the first one to die, but I don't remember the movie that
He was
well.
the first
so.
hero in the movie.
He might have been. I don't think so.
when Sam Jackson is given that speech or whatever about not being afraid, and then a freaking shark comes out of nowhere.
Deep Blue Sea.
That was unexpected to me too.
Yeah.
Like, I never expected that.
But that's in the middle of the movie, right? No, that's
Yeah,
people
but
died before that. The shark ate people before that.
I think the shark only
I
ate
got-
the dude's arm off. I don't think he had died. No, he did die.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
No, he did die. He did die.
Okay.
Right, because
He did die because his
he
body
ended
was
up
thrown
going
on
in the water, right? And then the shark used his body to get into it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Oh
die
yeah.
first.
Yeah, dude, that was crazy, dude.
I got.
I don't know saying, but I'm tired. Horny little son of a bitch ain't helping, and then he gets stabbed through the throat instantly. I don't remember that movie at all. I only seen that movie once, so I don't really remember that one.
I've got to throw one more.
I got one that's underrated. I got one that's underrated that nobody talks about. Jason Goes to New York. Shout out to the black dude that tried to fight Jason before he died. Jason Goes to New York, and then he died right after. Remember the black dude that started doing martial art?
Oh, okay. The guy doing the martial art.
So I got a move.
Jason
I got a
Goes to New
list
York.
here.
Fighting Jason.
I got a list here of movies where the black guy dies first, right?
Oh, let's put that up after like Mads. I think you were going to say something.
Technically, Jurassic Park is one of those movies. The first Jurassic Park, you got to feel for the guy who played that character. Right? First 5 minutes of the movie, he gets gobbled up by the T-Rex. He died before the opening credits.
Oh, right. Which one was he? Was he black? No, he was. He was
black. Yeah, he was going to his whole family. Oh, yeah, come. But show up early.
In Jurassic Park.
Okay, no, this isn't even a list.
Wow, I don't remember that.
So long.
Literally, he dies before the opening credits.
Before we go on to the list, AMDW, have you got one? On yellow, you don't even want to do it.
I got one. It's not really a horror movie. It's more of a take on horror movies. The first Scary Movie when Sean Wayans is peeking through the it's fucking hilarious. Remember? Did you guys see the first Scary Movie? With Sean Wayans?
He played as a Shardy.
Exactly. He hears something in the next bathroom stall, so he gets down and the fucking dick sticks through it, and it sticks right through his fucking ear, and you see it come out the other end. And then he like bumps it.
Which movie are we talking about?
Scary Movie 1.
Scary Movie. Oh yeah, that one.
Scary Movie, the porn version, apparently.
Oh, that's hilarious. I had to throw one more into the mix before I show this list. If you could share it.
No, it's not. It's not the list I'm looking for. This was one where they didn't die. I'm looking for one. No.
Oh, okay. I've got to throw one into the mix. Rocky 4, man. Or is it Rocky 4 or 5? I think it's 4. The one with the Russian dude. and he just beats the shit
Oh,
out
the
of
one where
him.
Creed, died.
Oh, Creed.
Isn't that two?
That wasn't cool. Apollo dies when Apollo dies.
Apollo
Man,
dies.
that's not cool.
That
Oh,
was
yeah,
too
Apollo,
that
man,
was
yeah.
so unnecessary.
It was just too much. I mean, it was
Okay,
like,
if you want to go along those lines, then you got to mention Candyman.
Why? What was
oh,
wrong with
really? Fourth Candyman.
that?
The villain who was killed by the neighborhood because they thought he was the one that was killing off children initially. He gets killed at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, but that sets up his origin, though. I don't think that's fair because
It
he is.
still counts. It still counts.
Still dies in the movie.
I like Candyman. I thought that was a good
I love Candyman. Love Candyman. Looking forward to having time to watch the second one. I've got.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that
I want
was-
to watch
I
that
like
and
it.
review that. Actually, I do want to watch that and review that. Amzo, have you got the list yet? And I have to go in like
Nah, this
10
one
minutes,
is
so
pretty.
this will be the last
Nah,
bit of it.
no, the only one I have
don't
here
have
is 12 movies, which I'll just say them out. One was Stealth with Jamie Foxx.
Oh, that movie. I remember that.
I guess Jamie Foxx did die first. Gremlins, 1984.
Yeah, I agree.
The black guy was die first in that
Oh,
one.
All right, what's happening? What are we doing, fam?
The
What's going on?
Unborn, The Monster Squad.
What is this?
Monsters.
Monster Squad, the
never
black
heard of
kid
yeah.
dies first.
Yeah.
Wow.
One
What
Missed
even
Call.
is
Kids
Who
and
cares?
shit.
What is that movie?
I don't know what
The
the
Monster
Monster Squad is.
It's quite good. It's quite
Is
good.
it?
Like, yeah, it's
Yeah, the
Goonies.
actor
They
that
might
died.
not take
Sounds
your
like
word for it, love.
sounds like one of those nerd manisms again.
Yeah,
Just,
the actor that died was Stan Shaw. If you guys know who
shout
that
out to
was.
shout out to Stan Shaw.
We don't have any visual aids for this shit? Or
Nah, because this
what's
one is it for some reason the site doesn't have the pictures of the movie, so it just has the names here.
That's my guy Stan Shaw who played the stuttering boxer in Harlem Nights, bro.
Yes,
He said, every night I gotta
yes.
fight for my love.
Yes.
Oh, another black guy that dies too is in the first Resident Evil movie.
Oh,
This is this
right.
weird
But that
thing
doesn't
happening
matter.
right now
Black
where we're
guy.
like all excited about black people dying in movies and it makes me uncomfortable. I don't understand what it is.
No,
So-
we're just
so
pointing
first-
out.
either,
We're
too.
simply addressing the fact. That's all we're
First
doing.
class,
weird.
first class is on that list, right? So the black guy did die first in first class. We also got 300 on the list.
Oh, when
First
he
Oh
person
yeah,
to
the
die was-
messenger.
This is Sparta when he kicks him down the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the messenger is the first one that dies.
Yeah, Scream
Yeah, but that's the
2.
wife's fault.
That's actually
Are Persians even
Scream
black
too,
people?
yeah.
Wait, are Persians
Oh yeah,
even
Scream
black
2.
people?
Yeah, the guy who's basically trying to like get out of there the whole time and then like
Yeah, it's Omar
murdered.
Epps. It was Omar Epps they killed.
Oh
And
yeah,
then we have-
yeah.
Then
They
we
had
have
two
the
of them, right? They killed Omar
So,
Epps
okay.
and his chick.
So we have Alien, and then we have Aliens. So the black guy died in Aliens first, and the black guy died in Aliens first too. Very
Okay.
interesting.
In Alien, the black
I
guy
thought,
died first?
I thought in Aliens the female Marine
Yeah.
got killed first.
There was a face hugger guy, the guy who
Right.
gets face hugged, and then
Yeah, 'cause
the
they're
Yeah, he
turning
does
around
before the
and
black guy.
the
Yeah,
aliens go up first.
yeah, he does die
It was the
first.
female Marine.
No,
Because
I don't think
the
Alien
black
counts.
the black Marine's the guy that has the explosives and falls down and oh okay, whatever. I'm not.
No, you could be right. You could be right because I remember the first guy to die is the one that gets the freaking thing come out of his stomach, right?
Right, and that was a female Marine. And then
Yeah.
the black guy, he's the guy with the explosives, and that's why
Yeah.
when he falls, the whole thing blows up.
Yeah,
And then
that's
after
very
that,
good.
I don't remember. Then after that, everybody starts dying.
Yeah, that's the list for that.
Interesting. Oop, 7 clip, 7 second tweet.
It's a 300. I've used it on my channel or whatever. I haven't got copyrighted. It's one of my things I just press, but you don't have to show it if you don't want to.
I wanted to just get a last round because I've literally got to go in 10 minutes. I might have to do a part 2 to Shang Chi because when I've watched it again, But I wanted to just get a
Shang-Chi's
last round
done.
on
You
like
niggas went on a 20-minute tirade about black people dying in movies. Shang-Chi was done long before that.
Yeah,
Shit
that's how
was-
relevant Shang-Chi is in the discussion about Shang-Chi. We're not even discussing the movie anymore.
exactly.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I was
wait,
gonna
wait,
say
And
that's
I got
part of
one
the
thing to say.
issue with this
Nerman, I got one
movie.
thing to
It
say.
is
for some, yeah, go ahead, K-Dot.
Nerdman, I ride
yeah.
with you on DC all the time, man. But the fact that you didn't finish Shang-Chi, you only had a couple minutes left. Father, I am disappointed. You should disown me and just kick me out the house now. Just get rid
You
of me.
didn't see any of the
I'm
Don't
bored.
worry,
post-credit
I've got
scene or
plans
anything?
for
You didn't
that.
see any of
You
that
didn't see
stuff?
none of that shit.
Post
I know, right?
Didn't see the
I will
post.
say
Nerdman, it was
this,
literally like
man.
the last couple of minutes. Like, bro, you was so close
With
to being
regard
done.
with regards to the post-credit scene, not the mid-credit scene, because I think the mid-credit scene
Mhm.
was very interesting. I really like the post-credit scene too. But with
Oh,
regard to the post-credit scene,
Heard
I
about it.
feel like the post-credit scene was a way to make up for the lack of use of the sister throughout the film. Because as much as she had a great introduction, and kind of,
Oh, what
they
happened?
developed her a little bit, her and Shang-Chi's relationship, she was severely underutilized in this film. And I think that
Mm.
that was a giant misstep because she was incredible every time she did stuff. It was great, right? I was super into it. So,
I
Bro,
think they
when
cut
she,
away way too much from her. Like,
bro, when
but
she was fighting
they
with that
did
rope and spear
they did
shit,
like
yo, that
getting
was
busy,
she
fire,
was
bro.
the
getting
fighting
busy.
coming from
Yo,
her. She was giving hands and stuff. She was fighting a
Because with
lot,
her,
but
it was
they
more
would cut
Yellow,
away
I
from
have
her too.
with the
I have a
sister, it was
question for
more
Yellow.
setting
Yellow
up
brought it
how
up.
badass she is instead of actually showing it.
What?
Well, every time
With the
like
sister, it was always
Yeah.
showing the setup as opposed to other than that one fight scene in the beginning where she fights her brother,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
It was mostly,
I didn't
set
get
up of how amazing she is,
I
as
didn't
opposed
get
to
Yeah,
Did
it was
anyone
I
else
underutilized.
didn't
get
She
like
was
elements of
underutilized.
like Mulan esque? Because there were some themes from that. Because Mulan essentially couldn't train because she was a woman at that time. So it was very
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
reminiscent of that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But I didn't get her little
Yellow, I had a
power stick
question
or
for you about
power
the
wire at
post-credit
the
scene.
end of. Sorry, K Dots. I didn't get her little power wire thing at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
suddenly she had
It
like
was
some
weird.
power wire.
well, the wire that she
It
was
was weird,
using,
but they
it was
made all
I
of
didn't
their
know she
weapons
had
from the dragon scales.
rings.
So
right,
however
and
that works, I don't know.
that's
Yeah,
what
but
the weapon was like
power-
being used because it could turn into any weapon. Like when she would hit someone with it, it would turn into like a whip, or it could turn into like a hammer or something.
No, it
Yeah,
didn't
but
turn into anything. It
No.
had a sharp end and it had a blunt end. It was a
yeah,
weapon.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it
So
was
she was like,
all
okay,
It's
so
an
she
old
was
glowy.
school
switching
kung
off
fu
between.
weapon.
Oh,
It's
y'all
like
talking about
Oh,
the rope
okay.
dart?
I
You
was
talking
getting
about the
mixed up
rope
when I
dart?
saw that. Yeah.
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 Oh yeah, yeah.
But
It
I was
was
just like, I
just a
was
rope
confused
and
by
the
that
dragon
because I was
scales and
like, anything
dragon
that hadn't.
special.
Oh,
The
okay.
way it
It
explained it, it
hadn't.
almost seemed like Wakandan armor, like whatever, because it
Yeah.
also absorbed shock. The only
Yeah.
way Shang-Chi
Yeah.
survived that blow. You could see it like kind of reflecting off. And it was also like chemically different because that's the only way it could
Well, it was
like penetrate the bloodsuckers or whatever, because that's why they all came together.
Right. It was made out of the
essentially.
dragon
Yep.
scales. All of their stuff was made out of the dragon scales specifically to fight those soul suckers.
Bloodsuckers.
What were they
And
called? What did they call them?
Dark
Soul
And
eaters.
also it's magic. Also, it's magic based too, and as we've seen,
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
we've seen it early in the movie. Long-bodied abomination with pure magic. Magic is
I
power.
fucking love that shit. I fucking love that. So you want to see
it-
how it
it-
feels, and then
it-
had him punch himself.
it got me
That's
too.
some
That was
shit
way
right
too
there. I love
short.
that shit.
that they
What interests me about that
I
scene?
don't like that abomination. But Yellow, I did have a question. Yellow, I had a serious question because you brought it up about the post-credit scene, and hopefully we can sync up on this. Do you feel that the sister is going to use her dad's organization for a good or evil thing? Because I'm hoping she used it for a good thing.
It's a criminal empire. It's a criminal empire. And she said it in the middle of the movie. Like when they introduced her, she was like, if my father is not going to give me his empire, I'll make my own. And then she ends up with his empire. She's criminal. It's a criminal empire. That's what it is. So you like she
took
might
over
not be
instead of
the
dismantling
worst of the worst at the top of the 10
So
rings,
she's going to
but
be
they're
the
still going to
Mandarin.
engage in pure crime. And I'm excited to see
she's
where that
gonna
goes.
be-
I really am looking forward to that whatever that story ends up being, I'm super looking forward to that because that shit is super exciting to me.
So she's
Yeah, but
going to be the
Shang-Chi says
Mandarin.
she's the
I mean, because
commander in
for
that.
me, yellow, for me, I was hoping for her to go into a good path too, like turn the organization something for good. Because if you go off how the story was progressing, especially in the end when Shang-Chi when Shang-Chi made sure to fulfill the promise of not leaving his sister again, stuff like they go back to their mother's homeland, and I felt like she should have went on a path of good. Kind of feels weird that she's going on this sort of evil crooked path.
Yeah.
It feels weird
Right.
based
I
off
don't
the
know if it's
journey.
evil though.
Guys,
Like, what are we talking about?
So-
Crooked isn't
Guys.
evil, right? So we got to see what it turns up being. But what's going on there, man?
Oh, I just need to say because I need to go, like, literally like about a few minutes. I wanted to ask just quickly about the post-credit scene. I heard one thing that the Hulk, Bruce Banner, is in this scene. I know it's a little less important,
Bruce-
but he's Bruce
Yeah,
Banner
he's
again.
Bruce Banner. It's not Hulk.
Yeah.
Bruce Banner
what's with
is at
his-
the end, and so is what's her name? Captain Marvel is
Brie
too.
Larson.
Captain.
All right, and he's
Oh,
got
and
his
I guess
arm,
like his arm is still broken. His arm is still broken
Still
too.
in a sling.
Trash
Yeah.
ass.
Mhm.
Which
what
is
the
weird.
fuck? All right. I just wanted
All of
to
y'all
ask
are
about
trash
that.
people.
And then,
You're all trash, and I just want you to know
and
that.
then
Everybody who's mad at
secondly-
Bruce Banner still being in a sling, you're stupid, and I hate you.
Secondly, I wanted
Yellow,
That's a great argument.
yellow.
I don't think
Infallible.
it's a
Infallible
passage.
argument.
It's a passage of it's a passage. It's a passage of time, and Brie Larson hair being longer makes sense for the passage of time. Like, how long does it take your hair to grow that long? What, like 2 years?
Who knows?
2 or 3 years. So,
Captain
like,
Marvel, she can
why is
make
this
her
harm?
hair be whatever length she wants.
Because
Yeah.
they said that Hulk's arm's not going to heal from after what happened in Infinity War, which I can't stand that. I don't like that.
Yeah, me either. Like, eventually it would
Y'all
heal.
mad
Like,
childish. Get over it.
Hmm?
Actions
What?
have consequences. Oh no.
screw
he's
that.
the Hulk, dude.
Nah, man, that's Hulk, man. Yeah, man.
So here's the thing.
Bruce Banner's broken arm.
Oh, he's supposed to
Wait a
heal.
second.
He's supposed to
How
heal.
has he even become Banner again? What is?
We don't know.
Because the
this is
movie
one of
wanted
the
him.
things
Well,
the MCU
eventually,
does.
I
It's
felt
just
like he was going to calm
He has
down
full
from it.
control. Nerdman, he took over the body. He took over the body in Endgame. As
So
we're
you're
seeing,
trying
Hulk's
to tell me in
personality was
Endgame
gone.
he could have gone from Banner
He's
to
in
Hulk?
control of it all.
Yeah, he did that
You're
because he
telling me
realized
He's in control of it all.
No,
He did that
in
too, because he-
Endgame, they matched it together so that he was
Get
always
the best
to be
of both
Hulk.
worlds.
Nah,
He's like,
Yeah.
your brains.
But
he wasn't able
teamed
to.
it up
No,
with
no,
the brawn.
This is a new thing. Him able to.
Yeah,
You
but
think
they
if
never actually confirmed that he
No, because
doesn't
look
change
at it
back,
like this.
though.
Look at it.
Oh, come on,
Yeah,
this is an
yeah,
excuse. You
and
think
look at it like
Marvel would have
this. I
spent
think
like millions of dollars on CGI, right? Like special effects, if it
he
wasn't
could
just
still
the
change
story
back, man.
was saying.
No, I know.
he can't
I
turn back into
understand what
Dr.
you're
Banner.
saying, Nerdman.
Of
No,
course they would
Nerdman.
I don't.
I
Mark
understand what
Ruffalo
you're
would have been
saying,
like,
but I'm just saying
Yeah.
they never confirm in the movie that he can't change back to Bruce Banner. Like if you
That's
know
it.
from the comic when he is Professor Hulk, he's Professor Hulk. That's it. He cannot go back to Bruce Banner. But in this movie, they
But
never
this is a
actually
different universe.
mention
Look.
that he can't.
And to take
Yeah.
it a step
It's
further,
not.
we don't know
Yeah.
what happened.
That's true
Right,
too.
Exactly. Facts.
So
We don't.
it's not
Passage
a
of
big
time.
problem. It's just something I wanted to know about, like the end scene, because I hadn't
Yeah, we don't
seen it.
know.
And secondly, I just
and like
wanted to know.
if you go, Nerdman, if you
It's like I
Nerdman's
need
trying to
know
wrap
if you
it
go
up.
based off Endgame, real quick. I'm sorry, I just want to bring it up real quick. If you go based off Endgame, Bruce did seem like he was the bigger personality of the body. Because let's be real, if they shared the body, I think we would have seen Hulk's arm healing. Because if there was a partnership, Hulk wouldn't have repressed their healing factor
just making
like
shit
that.
up, bro. You're just
I think
making
Bruce
shit
just
up.
took over the whole body. I'm not making nothing up. That's what it seemed like. It seemed like Bruce had all control of the body.
It's because
Sure,
Mark
sure,
Ruffalo wanted more FaceTime. That's the only reason.
Well, there was no
He
sign of
was a
Hulk
big
besides
brain.
appearing
There was
in
no
Endgame.
FaceTime.
There was no sign of Hulk.
There was no. I don't understand what you're talking about. What?
Oh, it was a
Or-
joke. It was a joke. It's that Mark Ruffalo wanted more FaceTime. That's
Yeah.
Or maybe,
He wanted
or
more
maybe they didn't
fun
want,
to it.
Everybody
or
take their mask off. That's all. It's just
or maybe they didn't want to spend the money on the CGI to have Hulk
Yeah,
in there and thought it was easier to put Bruce.
Right. Exactly.
Or there's
All
a
right,
narrative
guys.
reason.
Yeah, wasting
Or
money.
there's a
Chalk that
narrative
to
reason.
the
Yeah, for
bud.
sure.
There could be. There could be. Guys, I wanted to just quickly before we go, where are we ranking this amongst the MCU movies? I can give you a.
No one cares where
Uh,
your ranking is. So just
Yeah, you and I really should go back and watch the movie in full, and then do this all over again with as a redemption arc.
I gotta watch it too because I watched it on Onzo Vision, and that whole
you didn't
fight
you
scene,
didn't watch it. You
that
didn't
fight
watch it.
scene, no, the fight scene on the building, I could not see what was
Yeah,
going on in
you
that
didn't
at
watch that movie.
all.
You didn't
I
watch the movie.
hated that. I could
you
not see that
can't
fight
rank
at
it
all.
off a bootleg. Like, you can't
No, I can
do
still
that.
rank it because there was some good
No,
shit.
no. I mean, you can't review it properly.
But I will say
You
this.
can't
I will
review
say
it
this
properly
though.
off that.
Like the first, like maybe 10 minutes of the movie where they were talking Asian, there was no subtitles. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, what
They
the
were
fuck
speaking
is this? Right? Chinese,
Yeah.
right? Sorry. And I'm saying, what the fuck? So I had to go forward to see if the movie was actually in English.
Is that what you
It
just
had
said?
French. It had French subtitles.
Yes, it did.
Did you just say they were Asian, bro?
He did
Yeah,
say
I
that.
did say
Yeah,
that.
he did. It was super ignorant. He did
That's
say that.
amazing, bro.
Yeah, I did say that.
The
You know what the fuck I
the
meant anyway.
subtitles were in French. What province are you in again?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
But I wasn't even bothering with that. I wasn't even bothering with that. They were going by way too
No, man,
quick.
over here
And
talking European shit. All
Yeah,
right.
I
French
can
is a fake
follow
language
French
anyway.
subtitles.
So, like, who wants to learn French anyway?
So, look,
I watch French
I don't
I'm
know.
gonna make
Phantom
this
Zone
easy.
Yellow, please.
Nah, I wouldn't do that. But I'm gonna make this easy. Like,
It's not
I'm
better
just
than
gonna say
Doctor
the
Strange.
movies. I'm just gonna say that it is better. Than
It's
Doctor
better
Strange.
than both Spider-Man films.
It's better than all.
I agree
Is
with
it?
that.
No, it
Hold
isn't
on,
better than
which Spider-Man?
Definitely better
movies.
than Tom Holland's Spider-Man
Not at
films.
all.
Oh, okay, Tom Holland.
Wait,
Yeah.
I think.
It's better
I'd rather
than
watch
Thor
it again.
1.
I'd rather
No,
watch it
it's better
again
than Thor
than any
2.
of the Spider-Man.
It's better than
Thor 1.
Ragnarok.
I'll give it a buck.
It's definitely better than Ragnarok.
I think
It's
it would
better
be
than all
easier to
three
say what
films.
films are better than it because I think it's pretty high up there. Be honest. So it's better.
It's high up.
better to say
It's
what
high up. It's
films.
up there, bro.
I don't think
It's
it's
better
better
than
than
Black
Guardians of
Widow.
the Galaxy. I don't think it's
It's
better
not
than
Iron Man
better.
is
It's
Guardians.
not
still
better than Guardians of the Galaxy either.
Iron
It's
Man
not
is still
better
a
than
better origin film.
I would agree with that, Yellow. I'll agree with
with
that.
you too.
Yeah.
Iron
The
Man
Winter
is still the best
Soldier is
one.
still the best, like, you know,
Yeah,
the
I
best
I
like
agree with
agree.
that.
standalone
I
MCU
agree with
film. You
that.
know, like
yeah.
Yeah.
And Civil War's better.
obviously
And Captain
Infinity War is
America.
still the greatest
The
like
top
team up
facts.
adventures. So
No,
it's
that's where you
Facts.
lost me. That's
No. Yellow speaking facts, bro. What are you talking about?
simply put.
No,
Simply
man,
put.
Infinity
Simply
your
War
put.
opinion
and
don't count
Endgame.
because you put Captain Marvel next to Infinity War, bro.
Thank you.
Facts.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
dang, dude.
You're never
He
gonna
was
go
like,
that
"Oh, these
far,
movies
bro.
are the same in quality."
Shang-Chi.
What the
There's no
fuck?
Shang-Chi
fucking way,
is
Nerdman,
a
that
better movie than
there's
Infinity
no
War.
fucking way,
Hey,
Nerdman, that
Birdman is
Captain Marvel is the
Christian.
same
Don't
level
call
and as
Birdman. Don't
Endgame
call
or even
Birdman.
Infinity War.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi is
AMBW
definitely better than Justice League.
AMB. No.
Both
I would.
Justice
I'm gonna
Leagues,
silence
Yellow.
All
people.
of them. All of
Hold
them.
I'm
on.
gonna start
I'm
silencing
Boy,
people.
Even
No.
even Justice League
Jaded
Junior,
fanboy.
BVS
nah.
I would agree with that too.
is better than all of
Jaded
them.
fanboy.
Let me
Jaded
just say
fanboy.
this real quick, Nerdman.
Wait, no, Enzo, I'm not having it either.
Nerdman, you're supposed to be
Jaded
leading,
No,
right?
fanboy and
You supposed to
AMBW.
be leaving 10 minutes ago.
because they call me a fanboy.
No, I'm not having it.
No, he's
No,
talking to somebody on the.
Jaded
yes, there was somebody
fanboy
on
and
the panel called Jaded
AMBW.
Fanboy.
Oh,
Back
gotcha.
me up. Is Shang-Chi better than Infinity War?
Oh no, don't
No.
ask me because I haven't drunk the Kool-Aid. Okay.
There you go.
Everybody
Oh,
here,
no.
everybody here who thinks that shit is that amazing. I'm sorry, I haven't drunk the Kool-Aid. Maybe if I drink the Kool-Aid and I watch the movie again, I'll see it in the same eyes that you
Yeah,
do.
but
But
Infinity
I don't.
War, bro.
I don't know.
Infinity War. Think about that.
Still
What
say
else did
Infinity War is
Nerdman, I'll
better
say
than
this.
Shang-Chi.
Nerdman, I'll say this.
Infinity War is
What
better
about
than
swear.
AMBW?
I'll say
Wait,
this.
I've got one more chance. AMBW before you speak, K. Dot. Shang-Chi better than Infinity War. Come on, bro.
Yes.
No way.
I will.
Absolutely not.
He's
Yeah,
allowed.
no way, dude.
Come on. Dude,
You
man,
guys-
fucking look at me. Of course I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you.
Bullshit.
bro.
That's
Hey, I
how
feel
they
you,
feel
bro.
about a movie.
No,
I
way.
feel you, bro.
No, honestly, I didn't
Yo,
really care.
You know nothing, Jon Snow. Sorry,
No, but honestly, I didn't really care
but
for Infinity War as much as I like Endgame. I like Endgame more than Infinity War, so it has nothing to do with it. I didn't really like Infinity War for whatever reason, but yeah.
Damn.
Yo,
Yeah.
word. So
I
yeah,
didn't either. I got in
Shang
emotions.
Chi Asian people got you sold. Mads, is Black Panther better than Infinity War?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck no.
no way, dude.
Yes.
Huh? I
Fuck
can't hear you.
no is
What?
that movie.
Can y'all shut up? Hold on.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on.
let Mads
Hold
answer.
on. Which one of us is Mads on this panel? Because I have this problem on other streams. Anyone with
Answer.
a full
Speak
with
up.
a
Oh,
full
y'all was speaking up a second ago. Speak up
You
now.
know?
anyone that can fill out my bra can turn around and feel up to speak for me.
I got you. I could do that.
Yeah, we know you can.
Make sure it didn't happen.
Go ahead, Mads. Answer the question for these guys, please.
And for the record, no, I prefer Black Panther.
I know.
They
That's why I wanted you to
put a
answer.
ton, they put a
Good
ton
old
of
fashioned
research into that.
fetishization.
That is one of the that was one of the only superhero movies I could have taken my father to if he had been alive. He would have loved that just on the research they did for the tribes alone.
Facts.
So
Oh,
good.
interesting.
Facts.
Interesting.
So good.
All right. So
I would say
Shang-Chi
Shang-Chi
Nerman, I got to respond.
Shang-Chi
go on.
has cracked my top 10 though.
Oh, cool.
I had Black Widow at number 10, and I think Shang-Chi is better than Black Widow, so I moved Black Widow down and put Shang-Chi at number 10.
Facts.
Okay.
Facts.
To me, it's like number 6, maybe number 5 for me.
Wow. Okay. So how are you? What's before then? Infinity War, Endgame. What?
Infinity
No,
War.
Infinity
You're
War
asking
and
me or Andrea?
No, I'm asking Andrea. So
Okay.
you said it's
Infinity War
number
and
5.
Endgame to me on my list are like just below the top 10.
Oh, okay.
What?
So what? Yes, my boy
What's
Andrea.
what's in the
Anyway,
top 10?
You know what I mean?
You know, Ant-Man
what's your
and the
top 5?
Wasp,
Quick,
Oh
Dark,
hell no! Those are like
Dark
those are like the
World, you know,
bottom of the
Ant-Man 3,
barrel.
Ant-Man 3.
Andrea, don't
He's
let them
right.
the
bully you.
first
What's your top 5?
Avenger.
Andrea's right.
Don't let the MCU
I
fanboys
mean,
bully you. What's your top 5?
I got
Go
top 5: Winter Soldier, Iron Man
on.
1. I have First Avenger. No, the first the first
Avengers?
the first Avengers movie,
Mm-hmm.
Avengers.
and
Yep.
then the Captain. Then the fourth one is Captain America: First
I
Avenger.
thought he was gonna say Captain Marvel.
Fuck no, that's like the bottom of the barrel. That's Nerdman level shit. The fifth one I would have to say is it's none of Endgame or that. It's my fifth one would have to be
Civil War.
fucking.
Not even Infinity.
He's
I
trying to give
have
a
my
hot
list.
take.
No, I
What
have
about
my
Civil
list
War?
for the
He's
fifth
trying to
one.
give a hot take.
He's trying to remember what the internet told him
Yeah,
was supposed to be his
But
top five.
Shang-Chi for me
Guardians
is
of
like
the
number
Galaxy.
7.
Guardians of the Galaxy is the one that they told you was supposed to be in your top 5.
No, I thought
Actually,
it was
Doctor
Civil
Strange.
War.
Doctor Strange would actually be my top 5.
Oh,
Be
I
the
think
fifth one.
Doctor Strange. I think Doctor Strange is better than
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
He's gone. He's gone.
No, I think Doctor Strange is better than Shang-Chi. I like Doctor Strange. In no particular
I
order,
like Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
I have
It's
Infinity
reality
War,
warping.
Avengers, Civil War, Black Panther, Iron Man, Endgame is there, Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange. Those are my top 10. If I missed
And
them,
then Shang-Chi's after
Iron
that.
Man's Shang-Chi
I put
is
Civil
right
War.
at 10.
I put Civil
Right
War
at
above
10.
Infinity War and Endgame.
Oh
I
hell
want
no!
to hear K-Dots and then Jadens, and then we'll go to Yellow, and then I have to and Tim, and then we'll have to wrap this up. And Mads, but you haven't seen Shang-Chi. That's no
Well,
I'm
different.
not.
real,
I can't. I don't have a top 5.
I'm
I
not
can't give
reading
you a
it.
top 5 right now.
All right, cool. I just wanted to know where you
well,
rank
real
Shang-Chi
quick.
in general, even if you don't know exactly
Shang-Chi, I
precisely.
think, is in that second tier. You know what I mean? Like that second
Mm-hmm.
tier of Marvel movies. So like the best movies like Infinity War, Guardians of the Galaxy, Iron Man, Winter Soldier. Like these are the best movies, and I think Shang-Chi is like down in the bottom, like of the like
Okay,
second tier of movies. You know what I'm saying?
I
Down there
can
with
see
like
that.
Doctor Strange, I'm completely blanking on all of the movies. Oh, like Thor Ragnarok, I think goes up there.
But I think it's the
The
best of those ones.
Avengers, Avengers Endgame. I really love as
Wait,
much umbrage
Avengers?
as I
Did you
take
say
with that second
Avengers?
hour
Mhm.
of Avengers Endgame. As much umbrage as I take with that second hour, it's still a really, really good movie.
Wait,
Facts.
So
did
it's
you
right.
put
It's I think it's
Avengers
in
in
there. Black
second tier?
Panther, I think, is in the top tier.
Facts.
Or it might be at the top of the second tier now that we're getting more work.
Yes,
Because like
that's what I was
Black
going to say.
Panther has a lot of CGI issues, a lot, and
Yeah.
they really the
The,
more and
the
more I
second
watch
half of
it,
the
the
movie
more and
with
more
it.
harsh they are in my face. And as much as I love all the story that Ryan Coogler, I think Shang-Chi and Black Panther have similar flaws. Actually, the movies that the directors wanted to make, and then the force of the Marvel like formula stuff
Machine.
is what
Mhm.
kind of is where the clash is at. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
as much as I was joking calling Shang-Chi Yellow Panther before it was coming out, it ended up being Yellow Panther in all the good and the worst ways. Shout out to the MCU for
All
being
right,
consistent.
guys, quickly tell me your next, like where you're like ranking it. I'll go Jaded Fanboy, Tim, and then
I have to go along with Yellow, saying that it's not like a top five. It's like more like tiers, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
Iron Man. To me, I did like the Incredible Hulk, and I thought that was like a top tier one, right? Captain America. Basically, most of the Phase One movies, other than the sequels, right? But I would say Shang Chi is like a third rate in what the MCU has provided. But again, that's just me, right? So,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but
We'll
again,
have
I
a
would,
proper, we'll have
yeah.
a longer talk about it. I think Jaded, just when I'm home, but this weekend's a bit hard to do. But K. I agree with this. Like, I think it's top of second tier. That's how I look at it, and I think it's that makes it kind of like a little bit above mediocre to me. K. Dots, what's yours?
I'd rank it in my top 10. I'll kick Black Widow out, replace with Shang-Chi.
You're crazy. All right,
I
go
agree.
on. It's not
Dude,
better than Black
Norman, I'll
Widow.
say this. And you brought it up earlier with the Infinity War thing. I was more entertained by Shang-Chi than I was for Infinity War. Not saying Infinity War was bad. And I have my issues with it. But like that third act of Shang-Chi, the actor who played the Mandarin, the romance between the mother and well, he's actually Ten Rings. He's not the Mandarin. I was entertained more, and Aquafina surprisingly entertained me, bro. I was
Yeah,
shocked
no, she wasn't
that
bad.
Aquafina
She
could
wasn't bad.
entertain me.
I was gonna
She
talk
blew
about
my
her, but like
mind.
I haven't got around to characters. She wasn't as
I was
great.
attracted to
I
her for
just
a
don't
minute,
think
man.
she was given.
It's not easy to attract me, nerd man. It's not easy to attract me. I was attracted to her for a minute.
Yeah, but she wasn't given the material, I think. But anyway, I can't go into too much. I want to do a part two to this, but so you're
Andrea,
saying
you killing me, bro.
like
You are
top
breathing
10?
directly into your microphone.
I was just about to ask who's breathing like
You
that.
are killing me, fam.
Who's that? Who was that?
Go
Yeah,
ahead, nerd man.
I think you're saying
Andre was just
top
breathing
10
too. It's fine.
basically. Yeah, top 10.
Yes, in top 10. I had to
Um,
kick out. Well, I may have
but
to
I
redo my
still
top
don't
10 again
see.
looking back, but it's
We're
in
gonna
top
have
10
to
for me.
do a we're gonna have to do a Black vs Shang-Chi debate because I just don't. If you're saying has it got better action scenes than Black Widow,
I think it's
like
simple.
a
I
better
think it's simple. I
story,
think that
Yeah,
the
villain?
hell yeah,
movies
got better action
are.
scenes than Black Widow.
I
Yeah,
think the
no, that's
movies
what
are
I agree
similar
with.
Way better
quality.
action
I
scenes than
think the
Black Widow.
movies, Black Widow and Shang-Chi
Mhm.
are similar quality. The action sequences are obviously better, and then the third act on Shang-Chi, I think, is more interesting than the third act of Black Widow, and I think that's where it beats it out. As much as they
Agreed.
both have the same kind of
Yes.
problems, where it's like it turns into this overblown comic book movie, the third act of Shang-Chi is just more interesting than the third act of Black Widow, and that's
Interesting,
where it
Facts.
wins.
interesting. All right, Tim,
Fact.
quick, and then I have
Sorry, I
to
ended y'all whole
bounce.
debate possibility for the future. I mean, you can still try
No,
and do it, you know, but
Yeah.
I'll discuss it. I've got
Do
more
Honestly,
we
to
this
say.
is
really
the
want to debate MCU with Nerdman? Like he put
no,
Captain Marvel and Infinity War same
the
level. Like
same
I think
fucking level,
his
bro.
argument is done ever since he did that.
You
To be
Any
don't
fair,
like the
His
Nerdman
Dark
wasn't
Knight,
wrong.
credibility
argument
is
with
shot.
facts.
Enzo, you
He
don't
wasn't
like
wrong.
the Dark Knight. That's worse. That's
Yeah, that's crazy
worse.
too. That's crazy too.
Whatever.
That's crazy. You don't like
Don't
nuts.
don't
You guys are
Call
don't.
me
nuts.
out on that.
You
I
are
don't care.
nuts. All of you guys are nuts. I don't understand it.
That's like one of the greatest comic books of all time is Dark Knight.
Hold on.
But,
Dark Knight is the
real.
one I do.
Easy.
Dark Knight is the one I do like. I don't
All right,
like
now we
Batman
like
Begins.
Respect.
No. I don't like
Now we
Batman
like it.
Begins, and I
Batman
don't like
Begins is excellent as well.
Dark Knight
Batman
Rises.
Begins. I don't like, and I don't like
Yeah.
Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, you
And I've said
backpedaling,
that
though,
many
son. You had
times.
some
You-
very
you're
disparaging
backpedaling.
things to say about the Dark Knight, bro. You bullshit.
I
But
still
it's cool.
say it.
I get you.
I still
get you.
say it, but I always
You
tell you the
backpedal a
best
little
part.
bit, but it's all right,
The
though.
best
I'll let
part
you.
of the
You feel what
movie
I'm
is the
saying?
Joker.
He's
I've
got
never not
You're a
said
nice
that.
He's got a
guy.
Pepsi
That's
Light,
just
and he's just
that's just
backpedaling with that.
There's still trash. It's still a trash
Just popped
trilogy. I ain't
open
backpedaling.
a Pepsi Light and did
so
some
like
That's where
so
you're
moonwalking
spitting
20
there.
minutes ago,
blasphemy now.
exactly 20 minutes ago, Nerdman said in the private chat that he has to go in 5 minutes. So that's what I mean by polychronic. You gotta just learn,
Yeah.
figure out what polychronic is. It'll describe you to a
Anyway,
T.
I looked it up in the dictionary.
I'm looking it up.
So-
Hold on.
Jaded fanboy. I like you, man. You're a funny dude.
Love you throwing out the big words for these people.
Polychronic.
Hey,
Tim.
it's monosyllabic, so I don't know it.
Ah,
2
damn.
hours
Fuck.
later. All right, so obviously it's a loaded question. We need to have like a stream for this, but run off real quick if I can. I would say definitely Winter Soldier, maybe the first Avengers, Infinity War, Iron Man 1, and Doctor Strange. That's not I'm just trying to get through it quick, but yeah. Not
Oh,
saying
and then
like
where do
if
you
I have to
rank
get time to
Shang-Chi?
think about it. Shang-Chi.
Where do you rank
I
Shang-Chi
think
at the moment?
possibly maybe that's in the top 10. Like again, this is a loaded question to bring on all of us. So possibly in the top 10, I was pretty impressed. I'm a sucker for martial arts films, lover of Dragon Ball Z, like K-Dot obviously. But yeah.
I mean, I'll
Live
finish
action
by
anime,
saying this.
bro.
I wasn't like impressed, but I thought it was decent. I really did think it was a decent movie. And glad AMBW had like the feeling of seeing like this kind of representation, and all of us should, I think, have that feeling as well. And I think it's a triumph on that level.
And it was
But
good.
and it was good. It was, it wasn't like a disaster. But I'm really getting tired of some of these MCU tropes that are holding back, really creative people from making better movies. I'm sorry.
I agree.
That was
Shang-Chi
everything
could have been way more than what it was.
everything
Agreed.
that didn't
I
feel
don't know. There's not that much
MCU-ish
more room
Sure.
for
was the
improvement. This type of
was the best stuff in the movie. All the Asian influence of the movies and whatever that it had on it, those were the best parts. The martial arts parts were the best parts. The MCU-ish parts, the humor, the bringing back Ben Kingsley, all of that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that
All the
really,
references.
that's the stuff that really kind of for me was it brought the movie down in places.
It was,
Maybe I was
yeah.
a bit too harsh on it. I could have been a bit too harsh on it, but it was just I was getting a
No,
little
the
bit fed
problem
up
was
with
you
that
were in a
stuff.
theater with a bunch of people who were enjoying
Like
it, and that's
it,
just
and
like
you
that
laugh.
really gets your hackles up, like the hair on the back of your neck. People are having fun around me, So it's like I can understand why you couldn't
Yellow.
handle that kind of.
He literally said last night that because people were laughing at the jokes he didn't like, that's why he left. That's what
He just said it.
said.
He just said it today. He just
Oh,
said
he
it
said
right
it again today?
2
Okay.
hours ago. He
Hey,
said
I
it.
don't blame
That was
her, man.
stupid.
He's
Yeah,
instant
it's
fans,
stupid.
bro. I don't blame him. Shit, I would have left too.
I there was too
You're
much
right, bro.
MC.
Let these
There
empty
was
fans
too
make
much
tear you
This nigga
down.
K-Dots is full of shit. He was the guy. He's literally the guy who loved the movie from beginning to end. He was like, I would have left too. Shut your ass up, you fence hopping son of a bitch. You pussy. What's wrong with you?
Nerdman, quick question. I want you guys to answer to whoever's seen The Raid. Now, I remember
Nerdman
somebody
was
said
supposed to
something.
leave 30 minutes ago.
I have to leave after this question. Seriously, go on.
Yeah, just a quick question. Do you guys think this movie was on the level of something like The Raid? Because I don't think
No.
because someone, a big personality made a comment. Yeah, would you? Some big personality made the comment like, "This is the best thing since The Raid."
No.
No, the
Nah.
raid is better
Would
than
you
this.
guys agree with that?
No way.
The raid is on a
No.
different level than
The raid
Shang-Chi.
is too much of a classic than
Yeah,
this film.
you can't
Yeah.
compare that.
Yeah.
I think this movie has way more interesting characters and story than The Raid does. The Raid is a very, as much as I love that shit, it's all just nonstop, like, I'm
Fighting.
beating shit up from beginning to end.
Mhm.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. There's way more interesting story, world building here. There's all kinds of like other stuff that's happening in this movie. It's not just a climb to the top of the tower, you know?
Yeah.
But the action choreography in The Raid is way better than this. It's
Yeah,
way
it's
better.
insane.
It's
Yeah,
just a
it's
different.
way
It's more
better.
impactful. It feels more heavy. It
Oh,
feels like it actually hurts. You know what I'm saying? And you felt real stakes on how dude was getting his ass whooped as well. He was busting ass, but he was also getting his ass whooped, and it was great.
Yeah, I agree with the road
Just make
comments
sure.
on that.
That's
But
it.
yes,
That's the
I
last
did
thing I
have
have
to
to say.
leave the cinema. I did have to leave the cinema. This is my last statement because the MCU energy in the psychosphere was just too high for me, man. It was just like all the guffawing and laughter and humor. I couldn't
I
take
wish
that shit, man.
should have had someone film you leave. Like film you leave the studio. Did you like slam things down or something, or you just get up
Yeah,
and
When
leave?
you
for
watch an MCU movie, you got to drink the Kool-Aid because that's the only way you can enjoy these movies.
Bullshit.
Wow.
Somebody
Drink that
laughed,
Kool-Aid,
and
bitch.
Nerdman was like, "Ah." Walked out.
What's so funny? What's so funny? I don't find this funny. Why are they laughing?
He was
I
right
gotta get out of
behind
here.
me, though, dudes. He was right behind me. He laughed at
Let
the
me quote
Aquafina
Socrates to
joke.
tell you how this
You
movie is
know,
not funny. Shut your ass
no,
up,
he laughed at the
pretentious
Aquafina joke.
bastard.
This is when it got too much for me. That when she starts singing at the assassin, you know the part.
That
What
shit was
was she? What was
hilarious.
the song she was singing? It was like
California
some
Hotel.
like
Yeah.
Hotel
California
California, yeah.
Hotel, and she says to
California
confuse
Hotel.
the, and he
Hotel
starts
California.
fucking
Hotel California. Yeah, word.
cracking
What he
up.
said. I
I
don't know nothing about
mean,
white music.
this dude was cracking up at the back of me.
Oh, whoa,
I was
whoa,
just
whoa!
like,
Time out! What did I
what did he just say?
I
I'm
didn't say
in the
anything.
troll.
So, but it was funny though, because she was like, it was funny because yeah, it was funny because she was like, it works on dumb people, and then she proved that one of the assassins was dumb, which the Mandarin then confirms when he comes and he's like, I told them they wouldn't be able to kill you if they tried. So I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was funny.
But
I thought
guys,
Aquafina was really charming in this movie, and I think she worked
bounce.
well with Simu Liu.
Yeah. I think they had good chemistry as well, Yellow there. I've got to bounce, guys, but I just want quickly to a lot of you know our channels are like very interlinked, but just please do, these guys have been really entertaining on the stream, as you've seen. Please do subscribe to these guys. Most of you, I think, have your names like pretty much the same as on your channels. So you can find them pretty easily. So give them your support. They've got great stuff, great content on each of their channels. I usually would let them like say a little bit about their channel, but I really have to bounce so quickly.
Yeah,
So
man. Subscribe
that
to the
means,
faces you don't normally see. Subscribe to the Jaded Fanboy. Subscribe to Tim Possible. Subscribe to the AMBW Jim.
yeah,
That's how
good
you
point.
do that, Nerman. Jesus
Good point.
Christ.
Good point. Yeah, shut up, man. You did a good point. You had to like get me at the end. I just really have to like fucking go. But apart from that, guys, like, subscribe. Love you all. 3,000 usually. I'll see
Oh
you
my
on the
gosh.
flip side, and I love you 3,000. Peace. All right.